internet. He can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
And good morning. It is. I don't know what's going on with me today.
Do you mean to get you something?
I might need some water. When I woke up, I felt it, and I was like, it might just be. We had a weird night last night.
Should we start smoking the cigars now, too, or?
You know how much better the show would be if we did it while we were smoking cigars?
Like the Joe Rogan.
I don't know if that's the way that we want to go.
Yeah, well, why
I don't
not?
know if that's the direction that we want to take the program in. Man. That's probably the best way to go about doing a show. Just sit around. I don't drink anymore, so there'd be no bourbon involved from me, but God, if we did the show live from a hot tub while smoking cigars, we've solved all of life's problems. Let's look into that. Let's see what the zoning situation is here for a hot tub. I don't think it's allergies. Although, I mean, like, the weather is, I guess. Is it definitively warm now? I mean, it was still kind of cool last night.
I don't know. The grass is longer, so that's, the grass is growing now.
There
so
is
that's
that.
So that's the
There is that.
the main issue.
Well, I'm more of an air pressure person than I don't know. Whatever. I don't like this. Last night at the Clark household, quite the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up sleeping in 4 different locations.
Oh, well, it's nice you
or
have options.
circumstances. So I passed out on the couch watching the Warriors game
Okay.
until 2 in the morning.
It's a good game.
Missed most of it. I hear the Warriors.
Well, the second quarter took about like an hour because they couldn't figure out who to give technicals to,
Oh, there was the whole.
the whole.
That's the last
shoving.
thing I saw.
Okay.
Was the whole brouhaha.
That put you to bed.
Passed
Second half was good.
2 a.m. I wake up. I say, all right, I will. I'll go to bed. I go to bed. I find my older son has stumbled down, I guess, while I was passed out on the couch. And he is in the bed.
You want to know who won the Warriors game?
Yeah, that's what he was. He was like, Dad.
Did Steph do it?
So I then arrange, and my son now sees, he recognizes that I am coming to my spot in the bed, and he does, my older son does this a lot. My younger son doesn't. When my older son then proceeds to sleep on top of my chest.
Oh, it's like a
he was
cat.
still
Yeah.
a tiny boy. Whatever, fine. It's fine. It's my son. I made it. That's the way it works. You do what you want to do, kid. So I sleep there for a bit, and then I start hearing this. Error. See user guide for troubleshooting issue. Error. Smoke alarm.
Oh, and it says all that? Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one way to make sure.
It beeps first, then says all that. My younger son is now screaming. Because it's the one that's upstairs outside of his room. I have not gotten any actual, like, all of my sleep has been, I go upstairs. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just looking at the thing like, can I pull it out of the wall? Can I just smash it? And we deal with this tomorrow.
Just throw it outside.
Anything. I just start hitting buttons. I hit enough buttons that it turns off. I say, fine. It's good enough. Good enough. Is there a problem? Are we going to die because tonight the smoke alarm doesn't work and there's an actual fire? Perhaps. But for one night,
Well, you have other smoke alarms.
we do have other smoke
Okay,
alarms,
yeah,
Chris.
so-
I'm glad you brought that up. Do they work? I don't really know. It would require me to know how smoke alarms work. What I know is if you make a product that can do that during the middle of the night, you should be deregulated. And I mean it, sincerely. If there is a possibility that your smoke alarm could do that in the middle of the night, then you need to be deregulated as a company. Delisted, de-everything. D-Brown, D-Snyder, D-all of it.
Yeah, but they probably don't kill anybody.
Dante DiVincenzo. We're just going to do D things right now. The point is, D12, remember Eminem's band? I took a couple uppers, I downed a couple downers, but nothing compares
Sunny
to
D.
these blue and yellow purple pills. Point of the story is
Okay.
that should never happen.
Well,
If you make
might have
a
saved your
smoke
life.
alarm, no, because it didn't tell me there was smoke. It didn't tell me there was carbon monoxide. It told me
Yeah, but what if there was,
what?
it dies,
Right.
and then all of a sudden,
Then here's what you do: you make the product so that at 9 a.m. it'll do that.
what if
But
something
what
happens
you
at
don't
3 a.m.?
do, although also I'm glad because we got a cat now, and if that thing was at home doing that while the cat was at home, the cat might rip up everything in the house.
Yeah, you want the cat to die?
Poor-
Is that what you're saying?
no, not to die.
Well, you just said 9 a.m. once everyone's out of the
I
house.
want it to be at a
then
time
the
when
house can
people are
burn
awake.
down.
If that can do that at 3 in the morning, then it shouldn't exist as a product. Glenn Clark.
All right, anti-smoke
I
detector,
approve
Glenn
this
Clark.
message.
Yeah.
Yes, anti-smoke detector, anti-error. It's also not telling you anything. It's not telling you a thing. It's not saying battery low so that you would say, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll fix the battery. It just says error. Error. See manual for troubleshooting. What the hell does that mean? So, at that point, my younger son's now gone down to my bed, and I realize I'm not going to attempt to squeeze into a bed that has 3 other humans, a dog, and a cat in it. That's not going to be the way this
Well,
goes.
it sounds like you need a bigger bed.
Yeah. We got a big one. So I decide I'll sleep in my son's bed. Stop number 3 on the...
This is like Goldilocks now.
Oh, yeah. This porridge. Just right. So I do. Sleep in my son's bed. Uncomfortable. Realize for some reason his fan's not on because his mother put him to bed last night. And his mother, no matter how many times I tell her that boys run hot, it's what we do. She has worked in offices undoubtedly where she has been through the thing where the men want the air on and the women don't. She's experienced this. I know. And yet no matter how many times we talk about it, I'll still go upstairs. The fan is not on, and my sons are caked in sweat. She'll be like, oh, they say they don't need the fan on. Like, right, because they're not thinking about the middle of the night. So I got to get up. I got to turn the fan on in my kids' room. God knows what time it is at this point. I don't know.
Sounds like you got a full
And then
40
they wake
minutes,
up very early because they apparently have been unbothered by all of this. They wake up very early, and now they've woken me up. And so I proceed to go back to my bed. It was an adventure last night in the Clark household. There was a lot going on. But you know what wasn't going on? A baseball loss.
Yeah, you're right.
Got that going for us.
They won.
They did. Legally speaking, they won the game. It was dicey. It was dicey there for a second. Didn't look great. Trying to yak up a 4-0 lead. You got the clip?
After
we're on the internet.
following
Nothing matters around here. We're on the
of
internet.
course.
The definitive moment of the Orioles season, which up until this point had been Jim Palmer not eating fried chicken. If somebody had said what was the definitive moment of the 2025 Orioles, it would have been Jim Palmer and his fried chicken. But we now have a new definitive moment.
The hydration
Suck
station.
my fucking balls.
I should have maybe reminded everybody to give a parental advisory alert to that one.
Well, Jerry dropped one yesterday, so now we're 2 for 2 this week. And
That's true. That did happen. We are on the internet. We can do things here that we can't do in other places.
now we really are the Joe Rogan Show. You're right.
No, what is it with you and that guy?
You brought him up first.
Like, I guess that you're of that age. Like, I guess that's the way it is for boys in their 20s looking for direction. They believe that they're going to get it from a 55-year-old man who does steroids.
He defeated COVID. I mean,
Right. Great point.
he solved it.
He did. We do owe him a debt of gratitude as a society, don't we?
Him and that quarterback, well, I guess he's not anywhere right now, but
Yeah. He'll be. I think we know where he'll be. I think. I could be surprised by that still, too. Yeah. It was nice. The Orioles won a baseball game. They even won it against the Yankees, which, that's a good team. If you're going to pick a team to win a game against, I would put them very high on the list. it was still far from perfect. Obviously, give Tomo Sagano a ton of credit. He is proving to be at least a Major League Baseball pitcher. Maybe a little bit more than that. Did he need to leave after 5? That's a question that we could ask.
He was at 95 pitches.
Probably, if he came back out, it would only be for one batter, right? And was the first batter a lefty? Is that the reason why Aiken made sense? I can't even remember now, going back to the 6th inning.
Let's see. He did have a lot of
And
traffic.
we thought the Orioles were going to roll.
Yeah. Top 6 was, Jazz Chisholm, then Volpe, who Volpe's a switch or a righty? He's a righty. Volpe's a righty, but Chisholm is a lefty.
So they turned to Keegan Aiken. Now, that's the one that everybody's hot and bothered about, right?
Austin Wells a lefty. He batted third.
Keegan Aiken's rolling, looks untouchable, and then how many pitches was he at when he got pulled?
He was a very little. For 17 pitches, faced 4 batters. 4 up, 4 down. 17 pitches.
So that's where everybody starts losing their mind. Was it back-to-back righties that were due up?
It was
after
Oswaldo Cabrera, and then the lineup reset. So Cabrera is a switch, and then Trent Grisham is a lefty.
So that doesn't...
And then Aaron Judge.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Is there a reverse splits thing in there? I don't know.
Oswaldo. Looks like... Wait, did they pinch hit? They did pinch hit for Peraza. So Peraza... Okay, so Cabrera, that was... Okay, Peraza is a righty.
Okay.
And then they pinch hit with the switch hitter Cabrera.
But was Cabrera better from the right side than from the left side? Is that...
Let's find out here.
All right, this is
Go to Cabrera splits.
Just gonna sit there. Just gonna sit here.
Just wait for the the internet to load.
Right.
And,
No, I'm spending too much time on this.
Stats pages.
Look, it's easy to...
His OPS is about over 200 points. He's 200 points better against a lefty. Cabrera's is.
Okay. It's so... The easiest thing in the world to do is the thing where we say, well, if you just would have done something else, you would have gotten a different result. We would be Michael effing Phelps if they gave out Olympic medals for second-guessing and assuming that another scenario would have produced a different result. It's what we're the best at as a society. If you just leave Keegan Aiken in there, he obviously gets you through that inning, and the Yankees never score any runs. The game never gets close. You never have to turn to any other pitchers. You could probably let Keegan Aiken pitch 4 innings, right? You never have to take him out. He just mows them down through 4 innings. Because we just say these things, because it's just really easy to do. There's no pushback. Who could possibly argue? It's a hypothetical. So how would we know? Well, hey, if you leave Keegan Aiken in there, you win 4-0. What? Maybe. Maybe. Probably not, right? Because it's, the Yankees. But it's easy to say these things. Do I think that Keegan Aiken needed to leave? No. Do I think that we are banging our heads into a wall over the idea that Brandon Hyde has to play matchups and no other manager would do this? We're lost. This is baseball now. This is the sport. Welcome to it. It's weird that the people that watch the sport every night are still the same people that lose their mind about it the most. This is the way that it works. We have data, use data. That's simple. When the retort is, but I don't feel like it, it's never going to win in billion-dollar organizations that hire Ivy League educated people to run them. Your retort isn't... I can get away with that sometimes at press box. At press box, I can say, I disagree. Not going to do that. Doesn't even mean that I'm right. It just means I can get away with it because the structure here is a little bit different than it is of a Major League Baseball team. I don't know what it is that we're pining after. Do I think the Keegan Aiken had to be pulled in that spot? Absolutely not. Do I think that we are yelling at the clouds? Yeah. This is the game. It's like screaming about, when to go for 2 in football.
Always.
By the way, some people will tell you that is what you should be doing. We're screaming about it. Well, I just didn't feel like it was the right time. It's the people that a team's down 15, they got to score a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and they convince themselves that the correct answer is you kick the 1 originally because it keeps you in a 1-possession game. Does it make it any more likely that you're going to convert the 2-point conversion if you score again in the final minute? Absolutely not. Nothing at all suggests that's the case. And, of course, the reason why you do it earlier is so that you have more time to figure out if, you need to kick an onside kick, that you buy yourself more opportunities to still have a chance in the game. You're likely going to lose, but at least it doesn't all come down to maybe one play. Instead, you have multiple chances. But we just scream about those things. Well, if you just would do it the other way, it would obviously work and you get a different result. In the end, you got the result. Felix Batista. I thought it was his first 1-2-3 save. According to the game logs, he was credited with a save in a 9-5 win over the Reds, which doesn't make sense because that's a 4-run game. And again,
did he come in after?
It was 1 inning. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Go to his game log.
Let me just go back to that game then. What happens?
Yeah, it doesn't. I cannot. I don't know. I don't know. But I was wrong, is all I can say. I was wrong. I thought it was the first 1-2-3 save since returning. But I know it was the best that he's looked. That, indisputable. 1-run game, extraordinarily high leverage spot with, Aaron effing Judge due up in the middle of the inning. With respect to Tomo Sagano, who was very good. With respect to Ryan O'Hearn, who obviously had the biggest hit of the game. And one they desperately needed because it was still their only hit with runners in scoring position last night.
Going back to that, so they were up 9-4 entering the 9th. Matt Bowman led up a home run to Austin Hayes, and then a double, and then a walk. So with 2 runners on, and then they brought Felix in, and he went 3 up, 3 down.
So
with 2 runners on.
Technically.
Up by 4. So it was a safe spot.
Wait, say that again.
Because there were 2 runners on base. They were up by 4, and then they brought him in.
Those would have been the 5th
out.
and the 6th and the 7th runs.
Mm-hmm.
Look, man. Whether I can say it the way that I wanted to say it, which cleans up the nicest, or the way that I need to say it, which is it was his best performance yet this year. It was his best performance yet this year. It was significant. Not that I was terribly concerned about Felix Batista. I wasn't. But there's a difference between closer and Felix Batista. And last night, that guy looked like Felix Batista. He fell behind 3-0. Who was the final batter of the game? Who was up after Judge? I can't remember who it
Bellinger?
was. Was it Bellinger?
Yeah, I think it was Bellinger.
Fell behind 3-0. Battles back to strike him out. Just really good S, man. Really, really good S. So, yeah. Felix Batista is going to go up on the board. Man of the match for last night, with all respect. And even to Keegan Aiken, who I think deserves an awful lot of credit.
Cedric Mullins.
That catch obviously was phenomenal. It's part of what maybe led me away from Tomo Sagano, right? It did seem like.
And since he walked one guy for the first time in 3 starts.
Yeah, what a bum. What a loser. But was it 6 base runners over 5 innings?
Yeah, 5 hits, 1 walk.
Yeah.
8 strikeouts.
And no. Look, man, this is not me. Don't misconstrue this with me thinking that Tomo
No, I get it.
Sagano
No, yeah, I get it. You're good.
Yeah. This is. You just hate the guy. You know me. No, it was all why it was that I decided that I thought Felix Bautista was the correct answer last night. And I stand by it, and if you don't like it, then what I would suggest is that you do your own man of the match. Put your own board up. This is not a... We're all allowed to have opinions around. I believe are we still allowed to have opinions in this country? Things are changing every day, man.
You're actually not.
I don't know how this works. I never know what the rules are. But yes, there you go. Right. I probably should have. There it is. There we go. Felix Bautista, man of the match for last night. Orioles continue their series with the Yankees tonight as Kyle Gibson will make his first start of the season, first Orioles start since 2023. We will discuss the Orioles a little bit more. David Samson, former Marlins executive, now with LeBatard Show, among other places, CBS. He's going to join us. He has some strong thoughts about how the Orioles were constructed and what they got right, what they got wrong. We're going to talk to David Samson about that. Also later on in the program, our friend Patrick Stevens joins us as he does every Tuesday to talk college sports. But it's a unique opportunity. I've told our guest this before, that once upon a time I was so enamored with him that I had my parents seek out a jersey because he was the future for the Baltimore Ravens at the quarterback position. He is now, of course, the color analyst for Georgia football, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about the Ravens' first-round pick, Malaki Starks. It's a pleasure to welcome back to the program former Ravens quarterback Eric Zeier, who is with us now here on GCR. Eric, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you again, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Glenn, thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Man, it's great to talk to you, Eric. I just want to start with, because I want to talk to you about it, Malaki Starks, the football player, but there's been so much made about Malaki Starks, the human being. Your interactions with him, doing the games, being around the program, what more can you tell us about Malaki Starks, the human being?
Yeah, I will tell you, he is the consummate locker room guy. He is a phenomenal young man. From the day that he got onto campus at the University of Georgia, if you really could have a model that you want everybody to kind of fit into, he would be it. Obviously, his play on the field was fantastic, but the leader that he is, the man that he is, that Baltimore is getting one of the really, really good ones. That's for sure.
And look, I know the organization is dramatically different than when you were a part of it years ago.
Sure.
But it was still the foundation that was laid by Art Modell and Ozzie Newsome. It feels like that's very much still in the DNA of the Baltimore Ravens, is the reason why they are thought of as being one of the more exemplary run franchises in American pro sports. The fit that you feel like Malaki Starks is for this Ravens organization.
I think it's fantastic. Just to talk about the organization, I had the great privilege over the course of my career to play for several different organizations, and the Ravens organization to this day, the way that they care for their ex-players, they make you feel like you're a part of the community. It really is one of the. I obviously don't have purview into every organization across the NFL, but through my small lens, it is the best of the best. And there are a lot of good ones, but Baltimore is definitely right up there at the top. And when you can add the kind of character of a man that you're getting in Malaki Starks, it only strengthens what has already been built by so many great people, great leaders. And Malaki is going to add to that list for sure.
Including, of course, Roquan Smith, obviously part of that as well.
Absolutely.
The Georgia connection is working well. All right, let's talk about Malaki Starks, the football player, Eric, because one of the things that we've been trying to figure out is, are the Ravens, one of the thoughts going into the draft is that the Ravens might be in the market, obviously for Malaki Starks, because they wanted to move Kyle Hamilton back into the role of being sort of a jack of all trades, and they needed someone that could play a more traditional safety role. But the more I've watched Malaki Starks, the sense I get is that maybe it's the opposite of that, that they want Kyle Hamilton to be more of a traditional safety, which worked out very well for them last year when they switched to that, and that maybe they want to use Malaki Starks as more of that jack-of-all-trades, Swiss Army knife type. How is it that Malaki Starks would be best used in a Ravens defense?
Yeah, but he's going to trade wherever you need him to play and whatever role you need him to play. He has got the athleticism and he's got the work ethic and the talent to really go plug in however the Ravens want to use him. You know, when you look at you can go back to his very first game on campus at the University of Georgia, and the way he can locate the football in his ball skills and his cover skills allow you to put him into a lot of different spots. He's a physical player. He can come up and be a run stopper if you need him. But a lot of people have overlooked, I think, not that he was overlooked by any stretch of the imagination, but don't give him enough credit for the kind of ball hawk he is and the way that he can cover. He made, over his course, a number of tremendous plays, but two of the best interceptions I've seen. They really mirrored each other. One early on against Oregon and a little bit later on in his career against Clemson, that were two of the best interceptions I think I've ever witnessed. And I threw a decent amount of them, so I've seen a number of interceptions. But the way that he can go after the football, he is at the very top of that skill set.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that, as I was diving in on Malaki Starks over the weekend, there was this number that ESPN brought up that was in 2023, so 2 years ago. He gave up 5.6 yards per attempt in coverage and limited quarterbacks to a 27 QBR when targeting him. But last year it was 7.4 yards per attempt in coverage and a 61 QBR. And I recognize that, like, the nature of numbers, one particular play could skew that, right? Like, could really change it.
Sure.
Are you saying you didn't really see that type of drop-off from Malaki Starks in coverage that those numbers would suggest?
Yeah, I saw zero drop off. As a matter of fact, I saw him improve year after year. You know, you go back when some of those early numbers were being put up, when you look at the kind of pressure that the Georgia defense could apply and how good we were on the front seven, and we were still good, throughout last year. We were just excellent the previous couple of years, where it was hard for quarterbacks to hold on to the football any length of time whatsoever. So I think that plays more into just the dominance that the Georgia defense had early on in his career. Last year, while still very good, I mean, obviously we had a number of guys go. Georgia didn't go high in the draft again. A lot of talent, but that talent that we had his first couple of years in the program was as good, I think, in all of college football. And that plays into some of those numbers that you're talking about on the back end of the defense, not just for him, but for anybody.
Sure, that makes sense, Eric. What about closer to the line of scrimmage, right? Like, what about, as we talk about the idea of him doing other things, what should we know about, a Malaki Starks playing a little bit of linebacker or rushing passers or just as a tackler in general?
Yeah, he's going to be solid. I don't know if you're going to see him necessarily in a linebacker position. His frame may not be built for that, but to get him down closer to the line of scrimmage, Georgia used him there quite a bit. He is a physical player. He's smart. He is a sound tackler. And anybody coming out of Kirby Smart's program, they're going to know how to play defense. They're going to understand leverage, and they're going to be physical. It's just part of what Kirby has built in the DNA of this Georgia program, and he fits that mold perfectly. He really is. If you're going to go start a defense on the back end, he's one of the few handful of guys that you would handpick and say, I'm going to go build around this guy, because he can go do it all.
Well, it's funny because you brought up the two interceptions, and I think Griffin showed everybody the Oregon interception that's watching with us on YouTube. Are there any other plays that jump out at you? Like, hey, if you're a Ravens fan, you should go see this so you know what Malaki Starks is all about.
Well, I would start with the interception against Oregon, and then the interception against Clemson, and then so much of his other highlight, his films, really the ball's not even coming to him because he had to go away from him. But his ability to come up and put and apply pressure with big physical play, that is there, and it's really there throughout all of his career. Those are the two highlights that you're going to get out of him. But he was just solid, always in the right spot, very few mental mistakes. When he was on the field, it was just something that you never had to worry about. He is a joy to watch.
And I feel like, the thing that as I talk to more and more people, Eric, that what you brought up about Malaki Starks, the human, sort of translates to football, which is it feels like knowing where he's came from, knowing his background, and, experiencing homelessness as a young person, like how hell-bent he is to improve, to get better. We were talking with his high school coach last week that, like, whatever issues he might have, it seems like he has the temperament and the mentality that, like, no, I'm going to overcome this.
I completely agree. I think that holds true for everybody, right? Finding and becoming the best in a profession, or becoming at your very best. We're not defined by the success. We're really defined by the challenges and that we've had to overcome through life, and by many times the cracks that we've got in our foundation. They ultimately end up shaping us, and I think that's true with Malaki as well. He's had to overcome quite a bit, but it's just shaped him into an amazing man that has such tremendous ability to go influence and impact others just through his life and what he's overcome and how he's overcome it and how he goes to work every day. As good as Malaki is on the field, that is probably more important in the grand scheme of things, because he's going to be able to step into that locker room and be a leader on day one.
All right, so now that we know there's this full-on Georgia to Baltimore pipeline, right? Like, who's next, Eric? Who should be watching next fall? We've got
a bunch of them. Listen, selfishly, all this talk has been about Philadelphia and all the Georgia pipeline.
Half their defense is Georgia. Yeah, that's a good point.
It really is. I need that. I need that to get over to Baltimore, because listen, I'm a Raven at heart. This is where I need the Georgia pipeline fully to go. So we've got a good start, but there's a lot of them. We just need to get the full coaching staff down into Athens and just have them check out the entire team, because there's some talent coming through the pipes.
Well, with that, I remember talking to you when the Ravens hired Todd Monken. I assume that you haven't been remotely surprised by the success that Todd Monken found very quickly, making all of these pieces work and really arguably bringing, as good as Lamar Jackson was already, bringing, probably should have been another MVP award this year, truth be told.
Yep.
I'm assuming you're not surprised by how he's maybe gotten an even better version of Lamar Jackson these last couple of years.
But not at all. Coach Monken is one of the finest coaches of football that you can find. He's a great man. He is great to be around. He makes you better. He just has this uncanny ability to find your strengths as a player and pull all of that out of you. It really, like very few that I have been able to see in the game. I never had the pleasure of playing for Coach Monken, but obviously I have to watch him closely, and just the way that he interacted with his players, how he was able to get the most out of them, how he was able to go build an offense around the strengths that they have, to see what he's doing with Lamar. And Lamar, listen, I think he's, might be the finest talent in all of football right now. But to see the way Coach Monken is pulling that out of him and putting him in a position where he's comfortable, where he can go react and ultimately go succeed, not a surprise in the slightest for me.
Eric Zeier, how's everything else in your world, my friend?
Everything is good. I got a bunch of kids running around playing sports ourselves. Right now, I'm trying to think about second grade football and getting my team together for second grade football. So it's there's a lot of fun.
Boy, something about second grade football. Imagine trying to call a play. Like just run.
It's riveting. It's riveting. Well, I had my now fifth grader go through it. I drew up a playbook that happened to be like 67 pages long, and all the other dads looked at me like I had lost my mind. So got to scale it back a little bit.
Eric Zeier, it's so great to chat with you, man. Look forward to when we do this again next year for the next Georgia pick that the Ravens have.
I can't wait, but I appreciate you having me on. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Eric. Eric Zeier with us here on GCR, former Ravens quarterback and Georgia football color analyst. Appreciate the insight that he provides for us about Malaki Starks. All right, today's show is brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website for you to find out everything going on in local high school sports, everything in the state of Maryland. So when I say local, I mean the entire state. Western Maryland down on the Eastern Shore, they've got it. Private school, public school, boys and girls lacrosse, baseball, softball, all of it getting into playoff season. I know the IAAM playoffs start this week in girls lacrosse. So you want to know what the brackets look like? They've got them. CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. When we come back in, we will shift back to baseball. Yes, the Orioles won last night, but it has been a bumpy ride to say the least. Former Marlins executive David Samson is going to join us, share his thoughts on what's going on with the Birds. That's next, Glenn Clark Radio.
Something big is coming to Maryland, but it's more than what you think. Because this year, it's more than a race. It's the Preakness Festival 150. And if there's one event you don't want to miss, it's the Magic of Maryland Music Celebration with DJ D-Nice, Club Quarantine 5 Live, BSO alongside conductor Igmar Thomas, special performances by Deborah Cox, Jadakiss, Too Short, and more. Tickets are limited. Find them and see all other events free and ticketed at PreaknessFestival.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious spilling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and on the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the long road back from Tommy John surgery for Orioles closer Felix Bautista, as well as Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells. Also inside, we learn more about new Maryland basketball coach Buzz Williams from the players who have played for him at other stops. Plus, evaluators around baseball chime in on Orioles' top prospect Samuel Basayo. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Also last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers eked one out over the Miami Heat to take Game 4.
That was a close game.
It was a tough, hard-fought
edge of the
battle. You got to give them a lot of credit, right? Because, you know, in that situation, I don't even know what the final score was. It was
like 140. It was like 138 to
82 or something.
83. Yeah,
My God.
The Heat even went on a 5-0 run to end the game too. So.
My God. Bad. There was a really beautiful scene. I bring it up because there was this really beautiful scene before the game. You might have seen Kevin Love's father, former NBA player Stan Love, had passed away. And I think a lot of people maybe had forgotten. Tristan Thompson is a Cleveland Cavalier, which, truth be told, I would have been among them.
Tristan Thompson plays basketball still?
I think that's fair as well. Like, I think there are a lot of things that I would have said to myself, yeah? But he's been back with the Cavaliers since 2023. It's his second year back in Cleveland, where, of course, he began his career winning an NBA title alongside LeBron James and Kevin Love. And so there was this kind of really beautiful video before the game of Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love sharing an embrace that you could tell was extraordinarily personal and lingered for nearly 30 seconds. And I don't know, if it had gone longer than that. But, man, I don't know anything. I have no connection whatsoever to the Heat, to the Cavaliers, to Kevin Love, to Tristan Thompson, to any of the parties involved. And I saw it, and it made me tear up, man. Appreciate those guys and showing their vulnerability where the world can see, because obviously we still live in a society where there is a stigma related to that, and you're not supposed to be vulnerable. But I really do greatly appreciate the fact that those guys both showed a level of vulnerability in that moment, and it was kind of a beautiful thing. It's about friendship, obviously, about love, and it was just a really, really special video. So if you haven't seen it, just search out Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love.
I'm showing it right now.
Oh, Griffin's showing it right now, so everybody can see it. There you go. Special moment before that game last night. I mean, like, truly. Like, a lot of things. I'm a cynic. I'm accused of. I think it's more pragmatist than cynicist, but I get accused of that all the time. There are things that you just say, man, that's beautiful, and that was beautiful last night. And obviously thoughts with Kevin Love and his family after the passing of his father, Stan. Cavaliers do finish off the sweep of the Heat, so they move on. And as we mentioned earlier, the Rockets, it was a hell of a game last night, but the Warriors eke it out. And so the Warriors go up 3-1 in that series, as it'll shift back into Houston for Game 5. A busy night on tap tonight with, I believe it's 4 games tonight after just 2 last night. I think there are 4 with the Pacers, Knicks, Celtics. Yeah, those are the only teams that can close out, because the other one's Nuggets, Clippers, and that's 2-2. So we'll tell you more about that when we get to Tubular later on in the program. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. If you missed it last night, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, former Orioles pitcher, and Luke Jackson got together to talk some baseball, talk about the plight of the birds. Is it really this bad? That's the question. You can find that right now. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan shows brought to you by the Costas Inn. Let's ask that question to someone who knows a thing or two about building baseball teams, joining us now. And I know he's addressed this on his own show. Of course, a former Marlins executive, host of Nothing Personal with David Samson. You see him as well on CBS Sports HQ, and he's a regular with the LeBatard crew. He is David Samson, and he is with us this morning here on GCR. David, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always good to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. How you guys doing?
Well, I mean, better after the Orioles won a game against the Yankees last night. Like, that almost feels like it counts for 5 in this department. But as you would understand, it's been a weird couple of months, and really dating back to the offseason of what exactly is going on here?
Yeah, so here's the problem. What I expected in Baltimore is that you were in the middle of a great open window where you had a new owner with an amazing core of position players, the ability to have not just be competitive in the AL East, but dominate the AL East. And now I'm thinking to myself, the exception that I thought would happen, where a manager can take a team from tank to top, which doesn't happen often, and it looked like that was the attempt with Brandon Hyde. I'm now thinking to myself, it's going to be like every other tank, where when you're getting to the top, you have to do it with someone else. And I think this new owner is going to have to make a change. And I'm sorry for Brandon, because I know him well and have worked with him in my career. But there is something going on in Baltimore that if you're the new owner, David, you cannot accept that.
So, David, I know exactly what you're saying, and I think you're right. I guess the way that I would ask the question, I mean, that's the way it works typically, is when you hit this funk, you move on from the manager, you try to use it to inspire. But I think then the reactive question is, but is this Brandon Hyde's fault? Like, what would maybe if any other manager was given this group of pitchers, what would this look like, right? Like, I don't know what to make of whether or not this is actually his fault, or this is just the way baseball works. And when you do find yourself mired in this type of funk, this is just the move you make.
Yeah, let me be clear. With all the managers I fired, and there were so many I can barely keep count. I'm not sure that it was ever their fault.
Yeah.
I think what I needed to make sure is the owner didn't think it was my fault.
Yep.
And so therefore, I had to make the move because I had to deflect any criticism from me by saying, no, we got the right players. It's the manager not getting the most of them.
Yep.
And when that doesn't work, you say, no, it's not me. It's the guy who got the players. So then we fire the GM. We go and then if that doesn't work, then you go back to, all right, let's get new players and start again. And the thing with the Orioles is they're in a position where they've got they are the envy of front offices around baseball with what they've put together and what they have on one side of the ball. I understand having great offense and no ability to pitch. I've built teams like that. I understand having great pitching and no ability to hit. I've built teams like that. The Orioles, I understand not giving Burns what the Diamondbacks did, but the new owner coming in trying to be anti-Peter, trying to figure out how to bring the love and passion back to the greatest ballpark in the country, though I do love PNC, and of course the greatest ballpark with the roof is Marlins Park, which is barely recognizable anymore. However, to not be in a position to capitalize on a window is the biggest mistake an owner can make, and that's what's happening right now.
So let me touch on a couple of things there. As David Samson is with us here on GCR, of course, former Marlins and Expos executive. David, I feel like when you bring up Corbin Burns, the funny part being that, like, apparently they did offer the highest AAV contract in baseball history, although albeit only for 4 years. So it's hard for me to think that they weren't serious about bringing back Corbin Burns, although I get it. Like, it was only a 4-year deal. I can't make heads or tails of ownership is saying, David Rubenstein's saying, I'm willing to spend money. They apparently at least were going to consider spending money, whether Corbin Burns would have offered, taken their offer or not. But it was that or bust, and I can't. It's so incongruent for me that I can't figure out what the strategy is here. Like, why would you be willing to offer $45 million a year to Corbin Burns, but the pivot is a 40-plus-year-old Charlie Morton who's not really good at baseball anymore, right? Like, how can I make sense of what the strategy is from Mike Elias and from the Orioles front office?
So you can't, because what we do as front offices is we lie to the fans.
Right.
And we lie to the media. And what we say is that we have an offer to a player, and if that offer doesn't come through, very rarely do you see what the Yankees did, where you lose Soto and immediately reallocate the funds and trade for Devin Williams. Not ideal right now. Sign Goldschmidt, sign Max Fried to that outrageous contract. But that is what's known in the industry and in the world, a reallocation of assets. It's a pivot. Now, the Yankees did a quick pivot, I grant you, and right now at 17-12, first place. It is working for them, theoretically. I wouldn't expect the Orioles to do the quick pivot, but I would have expected a plan B, because every team has a plan B, whether they admit it or not. Sometimes the plan B is no reallocation of the assets, where you make an offer to a player and it's quote-unquote special money, but Corbin Burns is not that guy. Corbin Burns is not the, if not Corbin Burns, then nobody guy.
Right.
Maybe Ohtani is, maybe Juan Soto is. Corbin Burns is not that. So if Burns doesn't sign, fine. You have to do something better than bring in Morton. And this is not to yuck on Morton, except you are the team, and this has happened to me in my career too. It happens to everyone. In the game of musical chairs, sometimes you're left without a chair. You're going to sign a veteran player who's finished, and you're going to end up DFAing that player because you paid him and he's no longer good enough. And that is sort of Charlie Morton now. I don't want to blame Mike and David for that, but the reality is it happens. But a better plan B would have been necessary given how good the core of the Orioles is.
And it comes on the heels of them doing the same thing with Craig Kimbrell a year ago, obviously, David. I add to that, I think the Orioles, uniquely with pitching, they haven't drafted. Since Mike Elias has come on, they haven't drafted pitchers anywhere near the top of the draft. There has not been a draft and develop philosophy. The argument has been, well, there's too much volatility when you have these high picks to be spending them on pitchers. And I can hear that argument, but what happens is that at some point it feels like you have to pay a tax. So to say, hey, you can't pay what the Diamondbacks paid, and I don't think that would have even worked, because Corbin Burns clearly wanted to be home with his family, as he told us, and I believe that, knowing Corbin Burns. But it feels like you have to be willing to understand, hey, if we don't draft and develop pitchers, then it's going to cost us more. And we have to be willing to pay these exorbitant numbers because they don't have it internally to turn back to.
Yeah, the best way to build a staff and to build a team is you have to have a pipeline, and you're not going to get every draft pick right, but that's how the sport works. I would always love to draft pitching, and one time you can get a Jose Fernandez, and one time you can get a an Aaron Thompson or a Jacob LaRue, or you can get what's the name of that tall lefty we drafted in 2005 with Chris Volstead? Sean West. Every once in a while.
We could have been here for a year, and I wouldn't have come up with the name Sean West.
Well, let me tell you, Sean West was like a 6'10" power arm. We thought that he was going to
Randy
be
Johnson.
Randy Johnson, for crying out loud, and he ended up singing in a church choir because he didn't want to play baseball. You're going to get it wrong, and that's okay, but you got to draft pitching. To me, that is where I would always want to focus, because getting overperforming pitchers, meaning pitchers who pitch above their contract. When you mark to market a player, if they're making $1 million, but they pitch like a $30 million pitcher, then you're plus $29 million. You've got to mark to market your team, every single player. And the Orioles have a lot of overperforming players on the offense side right now who are being paid less than what their worth is, which enables you then to sprinkle in free agents, to sprinkle in opportunities or chances, but then you got to hit them in order to get what you want, which is the ring. And right now the Orioles just haven't done that.
David Samson with us here on GCR. David, on the flip side, somebody would say, well, if you're not spending money on external free agents, you damn well should have been spending money on your own guys. And I'm in a really weird spot where, like, I've kind of almost accepted it's just not going to happen. That between Adley Rutschman, making the big money in, as the number one pick, and now being this close, already into his arbitration years, and then the other three guys that you would consider this with, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, and Jordan Westberg, all being Scott Boras clients, I just assume it's not possible. Am I wrong to think that way?
No, it is possible. You just have to overpay.
Right.
It used to be the rule that if you are going to guarantee someone as a young player, guarantee their arbitration years and get a few free agent years, you do it to get a discount. You do it like people were so critical. How could Acuna have signed that deal?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're getting a ton of guaranteed money, and you don't have to perform, and you don't have to stay healthy. But those players that are pre-arbitration, every player you have, let me say it this way, all of them have 6-year deals. They are signed the minute they get to the big leagues to a 6-year deal.
Yep.
You just don't know what the amount is, but you know what the years are. What you do when you give a young player a deal is you just lock in the value. There is an argument to be made that locking in value, Eloy Jimenez, right, the way it did.
Dude.
I think the first one, or was it the White Sox? I'm having a brain cramp. Who signed Singleton? Do you remember?
Astros, right?
The Astros,
Yeah.
Thank you. There are myriad deals that do not work when you lock in a player young. Wander Franco, great example, locked in, though they're not going to end up having to pay him because he's going to end up being done. But there is more examples where it doesn't work than when it does. But the strange part is the fan base loves it.
Mm-hmm.
The fan base loves when you lock in the young players because it feels like you're doing something to provide stability and you're locking in your core. And I always tell people the young core is locked in. There's a financial risk both to the player and to the team to not sign the guaranteed deal, but they are locked in. And when you decide that you're dealing with Boras and you speak to Boras and he says, hey, you want to sign my guy? You're going to pay 120 cents on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
It is a wise decision to say no to him because you're going to end up getting screwed one way or the other.
But again, to your point, like, how do you measure that I might be getting screwed versus but I've got to do something that gets this fan base, gives them life, like gets them, we saw a year ago in the postseason that things were already starting to go south in the second half of the year. They were a sub-500 team post June 20th, and with their bad weather and bad start times for games, the stadium wasn't even full. And I know it wasn't unique to Baltimore, like the wild card series just isn't being treated like a playoff series by most fan bases. Like, is it the type of thing where that risk, even if you're overpaying for a Boris guy, it's worth doing it because you need to have that buy-in from your fan base?
So my view has always been, while we don't sell wins and losses because we don't control it, what locks in the fan base is performance.
Yeah.
And I don't believe anyone goes out and buys season tickets because you've extended a 1+ or a 2+ player. They go out and buy season tickets and come to games because of what they see on the field. What does move the needle are a very few players you can get in free agency. If you can take Aaron Judge away from the Yankees, or Shohei away from the Angels, or Soto away from the Yankees, you have an opportunity to do that. But in terms of young players like that, or re-signing your own guys, I remind you, when the Yankees re-signed Judge, they didn't get better. They just had the same guy again. Now he's an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
But incrementally, they didn't get better by re-signing Judge. They just pay him more over the course of a large number of years. It's a very tricky equation to do because you can be easily seduced by what you're saying, which is, hey, let's sign this guy. The fan base is going to love it. They're going to respond. They're going to buy season tickets. And then reality sets in, and the phones aren't ringing the way you think they are, and the people aren't buying tickets the way you think they will, because they do a very much wait-and-see approach. And the problem with the Orioles is that people have waited, and now they see that their team has a problem. And that's why I think you're going to see a managerial change.
I think you're right about that. Would you even, if Adley Rutschman came to you and said, hey, by the way, I'm still interested, and looking at the guy that you saw for the second half of last year and the start of this year, would you even be interested, or would you have genuine concern about where Adley Rutschman is and if he really is the 1-1 talent that we thought he was?
So, again, I love where your head's at, because the way players look at their own stats during a particularly down period of time is you don't get a discount for that. There's no recognition. Players price themselves at the top of their best period of performance. They look at what they did for a period of time. They say, this makes me a top 10 player. And the agent, especially Scott Boras, would tell you that is the only way you will sign my guy, with no recognition of lack of performance, only a premium for his best performance.
I don't know what to make of it at the moment, man. I don't know what to make of it, and
it's April,
yeah,
so I'd like there to be no
fair.
panic.
That's fair. That is fair.
But I do believe a new owner will panic faster than an old owner. And I believe that when you look around at how unlikely it is to have a manager who goes tank to top, I think that is going to be a natural step that ownership will make. But again, we'll wait to see.
Is that date? I've said that date isn't before Memorial Day, right? Does that time-wise, does that make sense?
I fired managers starting, I bet you the second week of May was the earliest I did it, if I had to guess. So I think that getting it done before Memorial Day matters, because then you have the whole summer, and you have quite a ways until July 31, where if it doesn't work, you can move pieces in terms of being a seller at the deadline. So I would look for this managerial change to be done before Memorial Day, if it's going to be done at all.
And then I'll wrap with this, because David Rubenstein, and what you said earlier, 100% owners can lie just as well as front offices can. He said when he came in, and he and I had a conversation before the year, that he absolutely was willing to defer to Mike Elias, because Mike Elias had proven himself as, executive of the year in baseball, that, he was a new owner. I'm going to listen. I'm going to take my cues from Mike Elias. He said to me, I talk to him every day, but what he says goes. When does that, if that is true, if that is correct, okay. Yeah, all right.
It's not. So just put it out of your head. All owners say it because they want to say they're not meddling, but they all meddle. It's not just my owner or your owner. It's all 30 owners meddle. They all think they know what they're doing more than any other. And I give credit to Jerry Jones, who says, screw it, I'll call myself the GM. Credit to him for he's not meddling. He's actually the GM. But many, many owners, all owners do it. So no. Do not believe that Mike Elias is making moves and doing things, and David is just sitting there saying, oh, great, great, great. Thanks for the update.
What can we plug for you, my friends?
Please listen to Nothing Personal with David Samson every day live, 8 a.m. on YouTube, Nothing Personal with David Samson. And we have a lot of fun coming to you every day, talking sports, business, culture, entertainment. And I'm honored to have the audience I have, and it's all because people are interested in what's happening in the world of sports business and sports. And I get to go on shows like this, which I love doing. So I appreciate everybody.
And, of course, at David P. Samson as well is how you follow him on Twitter. David, you're the best, man. Thank you for taking the time for us. We really appreciate it.
Have a great day. Thank you.
David Samson with us, former Marlins and Expos executive. And, as he says it, it sounds like he believes it's fait accompli. And he even bumps my date up. Now, performance on the field can change that. One win does not a rally make. But if one win turns into a winning streak, turns into a culture change, then obviously we'll be having a different conversation. If we look back and S my effing B's turns into the moment where everything flipped for the Orioles. Now, that seems odd considering they didn't score another run after that last night. It's not like suddenly that was what fired them up. But if we look back on it and say, boy, everything changed when they got home and faced the Yankees, then we won't be having this conversation.
Right. Well, it won't because they faced the Yankees. It's because they brought the sprinkler back.
You think the sprinkler is specifically what the story is?
One game,
I was never enamored with the fishing hook. Like, I appreciated how far the guys were going to try to sell it. Like, diving over I appreciated that they wanted to do it. But it was like not having.
Well, I think because Albert Suarez, he was the most. Mm-hmm. He sold it the most, and now that he's not in the dugout anymore, I think that's why.
I guess I haven't even noticed that he's not in the dugout.
Well, at least I haven't seen him when they cut there. Like Bradish is there now. But,
yeah.
So maybe that's a good sign that Suarez isn't there. Like he's trying to work on something, trying to get healthy. But maybe. I don't know.
We didn't really talk about the moves that were made before the game.
It was
yesterday.
They changed half the team, right?
I mean, kinda. It really is the timing that I think everybody was reacting to strongly. Like that, this is stuff that you announced seconds before the game began.
That they were trying to sneak it in almost.
Right? Like, hey, hope that you don't notice this. Emmanuel Rivera and Maverick Handley.
Let's go
to the roster. Sure.
All in.
Replacing Gary Sanchez and Jordan Westberg, who both go on short IL stints, according to the team. Anyway, but we've heard things like that before. Unfortunately, Colton Cowser and Grayson Rodriguez moved from the short IL to the long IL, the 60-day IL. Now,
I feel like the Grayson one's not too.
I think even when there was positive, this doesn't prevent them from starting the process. So I think that, when you remember that 60 days is 2 months and that you can it's not 60 days from today, it's 60 days retroactive to when you went on the injured list. So it sounds more dramatic than it is because it sounds like they're saying there's no way he could possibly be back before June 29th, which, by the way, there might still be no. It might still very well be that he's not back before June 29th. But that's not actually what they're saying. I don't remember what the date was that Grayson Rodriguez was originally put on IL.
It was before. It was back in spring training, right?
I don't remember. I apologize. This is not. There's a lot going on. I don't know if you heard, but we had a fan and a smoke alarm situation.
Oh, so that's why you don't know.
Really, otherwise I would have been sharp. I would have been
locked in here,
all over it. It looks like it didn't happen in April. Looks like it was in March, and it was.
Yeah, because I thought it was definitely before this.
March 27th.
Okay.
And it was retroactive to March 24th. So it essentially makes the date May
24th-ish.
24th-ish. It's probably a day or two before that, right?
Start counting days real quick?
No, we don't need to do that. So that's less than a month away. So again, when you see it written on paper, you're like, disaster. And it still isn't good. I'm not trying to sell you on that, but it doesn't mean he's definitively not back till July just because of the nature of the transaction. The nature of the transaction only means he's definitively not back before late May. And we'll see. We'll see. But I get it. It's still not good news. You would rather they have no reason for Grayson Rodriguez to need to be moved to the 60-day IL. Not the reality of the circumstances. We come back in. Oh, my. We will preview Selection Sunday in college lacrosse. Is coming up this weekend. couple teams have already fallen by the wayside locally. We will kind of put the finishing touches on their seasons, what went wrong, and we'll look into what's ahead for the teams that are still playing. Patrick Stevens, USA Lacrosse Magazine. He joins us next. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at driveeasymd.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high-fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Something big is coming to Maryland, but it's more than what you think. Because this year, it's more than a race. It's the Preakness Festival 150. And if there's one event you don't want to miss, it's the Magic of Maryland Music Celebration with DJ D-Nice, Club Quarantine 5 Live, BSO alongside conductor Igmar Thomas, special performances by Deborah Cox, Jadakiss, Too Short, and more. Tickets are limited. Find them and see all other events free and ticketed at PreaknessFestival.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and on the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the long road back from Tommy John surgery for Orioles closer Felix Bautista, as well as Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells. Also inside, we learn more about new Maryland basketball coach Buzz Williams from the players who have played for him at other stops. Plus, evaluators around baseball chime in on Orioles' top prospect Samuel Basayo. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com. where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. Don't forget, the Kentucky Derby is this Saturday. Yeah, that one, the horse race. They do it every year. We're going to be inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel starting at 5:30 for a Kentucky Derby party. Wear your Derby best, because we're going to be giving out great grand prizes for best dressed, best hat. We'll be giving out horse names, and if you pull the winning horse, you'll be winning great prizes. Plus, we'll have Orioles tickets to give away and just all sorts of stuff, man. It's going to be an awesome day at Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel. Hope that you will come join us starting at 5:30. And then after the race is over, stick around because they're also showing the Canelo Alvarez fight on that 100-foot media wall inside Sports and Social. They got a new seasonal menu. I'm told they're adding a gyro to the menu here in May at Sports and Social. It's the best place for hanging out and watching sports. Plus, all throughout the day, day-long baseball action, playoff action all throughout the day. Just camp out. Make a day out of it. Inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel, and we look forward to seeing you there this Saturday. Again, the Kentucky Derby party starts at 5:30, so make sure you are joining us then for great giveaways and just a festive atmosphere inside Sports and Social. Our guy John in Little Rock, Sagano is a major find. Elias deserves props for this move. So far, so good. Sagano dreamed to one day go against the Yankees, you have to fully appreciate and understand how much last night meant. Look, Sagano looks the part. As I said, at least a major league caliber pitcher. I don't want to go any further than that, but at the moment, he looks like he's capable of pitching in the major leagues. And given their alternatives, you'll take that. They need more. They need dramatically more. You like Tomo Sagano a lot more as your third or fourth starter than you do as your number one starter. They need a lot more, a lot better, or at least some better. But yeah, at the moment, that one appears to be a check that Sagano was a capable major league pitcher. Selection Sunday in college lacrosse is this Sunday. Joining us now to tell us more about the realities for everybody trying to get into the NCAA tournament. He is, of course, our friend. You follow him on Twitter and Blue Sky at Discourse with a 1 instead of an I. And USA Lacrosse Magazine, Washington Post, Blue Ribbon for our friend Patrick Stevens, who's with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good morning, bud. How are you?
I'm well, Glenn. How are you? How are you doing besides obviously being tired of the Orioles?
Yeah, well, I mean, I get to watch Kyle Gibson pitch tonight, Patrick. How could life be any better? We'll see. That's going to be their savior. Yeah. All right, let's do it. Let's just talk lacrosse. Let's start with the teams that have fallen by the wayside. Let's start there and sort of put a finishing thought. And obviously, I think as far as disappointment goes, we would start with Johns Hopkins. And I know injuries were a big part of the story, but, boy, this has to be a bitter pill. How did this happen?
Well, they just did not have enough offense, I think, is the bottom line. And granted, we've talked about how the Big Ten could be kind of a slog in general, but you look at a 6-game losing streak to end the season, and you give up more than 11 goals just twice in that span, and you got past 10 once, and it was in a pretty spirited performance against Penn State in the Big Ten tournament last week. But to go from 6-2 to 6-8, that is not the way you want things to go, obviously. And I think, like you said, you have injuries in the cage and injury on attack, and they just wasn't quite enough for that team. And when you kind of look back at what they did early on, and you're thinking, well, these look like good wins. And, Denver's done its season too at this point. They didn't even make the Big East tournament, and they have to host it this weekend. Towson obviously got rolling once they got to league play, but didn't do much in non-conference play. And, Georgetown was probably their best win over the course of the full season. But even there, that's a team that isn't quite as good as it's been. Loyola we can talk about in a moment, and Virginia's done its season too. So and then Navy. I mean, those are the 6 wins for Hopkins. If you give that list in a given year, you usually think that's a fair number of good victories. It just wasn't this year, and then there just wasn't enough offense to get them through in the slog that is Big Ten play.
And of course, another one of those wins was against Loyola, who also saw their season come to a close, unsurprisingly, against Army. And there's a lot there to deal with. I guess there's probably at least some reason for optimism about how some of the young players came on at the end of the year, but kind of a prolonged issue for Loyola at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Loyola, you feel decent about how April went, even if the last game up at Army was not good. And 18-6, and it probably never felt even that close for the Greyhounds. But before that, they'd won 3 out of 4. At the same time, 3-11 is just not up to the standard of a program that is only 13 years removed from winning a national title. It really isn't that far away removed from being in a Final Four. Loyola, obviously the season itself had long since been basically lost. To have that as the final dagger, if you will, not really out of line from what we saw from Loyola all along. But yeah, a lot of young guys and a team that obviously has a lot to look at here as it heads into 2026.
All right, let's talk about the teams that are still alive, and maybe we'll work with least likely to most likely. Maybe we'll go in that direction, Patrick. And so I'll start with boy, I guess I'd be torn between UMBC and Navy as far as Lee's Lake. I'll start with Navy because they're a lower seed. But as you pointed out, like given some of the results they've had this year, maybe one of the teams that has genuine reason to believe they could get hot and win 3 games here this week.
Well, first off, they beat Lafayette in one of their better games of the season a few weeks back. So that they start on the road against Lafayette tonight. If they win that game, they get Army, a team that they played really tough in Indianapolis a couple weeks back. And, those games kind of take on a life of their own. And then, the number 2 seed in that tournament's Boston University, who they beat 13-9, played a great first half and then kind of held on for dear life later on as BU used the 10-man ride to get back in the game. So, Navy has certainly the Loyola loss. I almost just chalk that up to there's nothing left in the tank after playing Army the week before. And just chalk it up to that. And besides that, it hasn't been – there's not much that stands out in a bad way for Navy. So, if they can get a second shot at Army, I think they take their chances with that, especially since they came as close as they did to knocking off the Black Knights at home a couple weeks back.
I would assume that at this point, UMBC season, whatever happens, we deem as an amount of success. But they're – again, it feels like they're capable of going up. It just kind of comes down to it didn't go so well against Bryant. If they get another shot at them, how would it be better this time around?
Well, I mean, you look at them offensively, and I think they're better than scoring 7 goals against just about anybody. I mean, that's kind of when you look at what they've done over the course of the season. They had 8 against a really good Richmond team, 9 in a win against Drexel. And then 7 last week against Holy Cross in a game where they basically rested most of their starters, and figured, whatever.
It's meaningless, right?
The important thing is to make sure you're fully healthy for the conference tournament. So I think UMBC has a credible chance. I do think that over the course of the full season, Bryant's been a slightly better team, and certainly was better back on March 29. But I think UMBC can make things interesting. But first, they got to deal with an Albany team that started to play a little bit better too, and that's a team that they saw and beat in overtime on the road back on March 22nd. So it's not as if that's a sure thing for UMBC, especially since Albany is a team that I think we know when they get rolling offensively, they can cause some problems for people too.
Towson, of course, hosting the CAA tournament, and I think definitively the team to beat. It just comes down to whether or not they hold their end of the bargain and get the job done.
Yeah, I think if the one thing I would take away from them over the last few games, the defense has been playing better. The goalie play has been better. Gave up 3 to Hampton, but that's not really saying a whole lot. That's a program that continues to struggle. But holding Fairfield to 9 was really impressive. And then in a game that really didn't mean anything, we talked about this last week,
right.
For them just to kind of grind out a 9-7 game up at Hofstra. Now they turn around and play them again. Certainly, I think a good sign for Towson. The CAA tournament does have a habit of being kind of weird. It wasn't last year as Towson just simply handled its business. And then you got Fairfield and Drexel on the other side. I think I know those Fairfield folks were really hoping to get a second shot at Towson. Didn't feel like they put their best foot forward. I'm sure Hofstra feels the same way from having played just a few days ago. So there's your there's a couple teams anyway, and Drexel obviously is a team that's consistently very good in the league. So I do think Towson has a lot of work to do. But at the same time, I would agree they would be the favorite in that league. And remember, it's a 1-bid league, and probably staring at going to play the 3 or the 4 seed, maybe the 5 seed in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So think certainly Towson needs to take care of its business. But when you look at what they've done right now, of late, they've won 8 in a row since that 1-5 start. A team playing really well at the end of the season, just like last year.
And then, look, the one team we know that's going to be in is Maryland. And as we talked about, this weekend probably doesn't mean a lot to Maryland, other than there are a number of players on that roster who have never won a Big Ten tournament because Michigan's won it the last couple of years. So I don't know how much that matters to that group of guys. Is there anything like are we definitive? They're definitely at home. There's nothing that really matters. It's just do they win the Big Ten tournament or not?
Yeah, I think that especially if they win the first game against Penn State. Remember, they got humiliated by Penn State last year in the Big Ten tournament, so I'm sure that's not forgotten or anything. But if they win that game, it's going to be really hard to imagine them not being the 1 or the 2 seed and getting a play-in winner. And so do you take the extra rest there for a team playing Wednesday? And if they're the 1 or the 2 seed, they'll almost certainly play Sunday in the first round of the NCAA tournament. A loss there kind of maybe opens up slipping down to 3 or possibly in a really bizarre scenario 4, but I don't think that's going to happen. Even with a loss, they might be a top 2 seed just because of the amount of work that they've been able to do against top-tier teams to this point. But I think that this Maryland team, just like last year's and just like most years, are going to be judged on the second tournament they play in rather than the first one.
So then what else, not just the bottom of the bracket, but, as far as getting home games, as far as what else matters this weekend as we look ahead to the selection show on Sunday night?
Well, I think we can, go ahead and say Cornell, Princeton, Maryland, Penn State are all in really, really good shape to get a home game in the NCAA tournament. I think Notre Dame probably ends up getting one, and I think the Carolina-Duke winner on Friday gets one. Okay. So that's 6. I suspect Ohio State, if it wins a game in the Big Ten tournament, probably gets a home game. And then you've got 1 spot left for maybe the Carolina-Duke loser, Syracuse, maybe Harvard if it somehow wins the Ivy League tournament. Army's in that mix too. So I think the real interesting thing is there's kind of a 7 through 11, 7 through 12 or so is kind of jumbled up a bit. But when you look at actually where the pressure is being applied for selection anyway, with Michigan losing to Rutgers on Saturday, there is not another at-large team that's floating around out there that can make a charge. Like, there's basically 3 teams that are going to dictate, like, is there somebody that's going to get squeezed? Does Rutgers win the Big Ten tournament? Because if not, there's not going to be a bid seat there. Does Yale win the Ivy League tournament? And they just lost to Princeton 18-7. Do they win the Ivy League tournament? If they don't, there's not going to be a bid seat there. And then the question of could Army possibly get an at-large bid? So that's the one story that definitely goes into the weekend. Rutgers plays Thursday in the Big Ten semis. Yale plays Friday in the Ivy League semis. And then Army plays Friday and then potentially on Sunday in the Patriot League tournament. So that I think is the team that people are going to be watching, and certainly can make the committee's job a whole lot easier if Army just goes ahead and wins 2 games on its own field. And then, the other things obviously for the committee to make things easier would be Rutgers and Yale, falling pretty quick. If not, those are variables that could linger into the weekend.
All right, Patrick Stevens, let's play the game. Can Patrick name the MLB teams that this particular player has played for? And we begin. We've got a theme. This one, I struggled actually a little bit with this one. I got 3 of the others besides the Orioles. I didn't do so well. As it turns out, there were 7 teams. 4 of them were multi-year stops. For one-time star of the television program Veep, Tommy Hunter is the first name on the list.
Tommy Hunter, good heavens. Yeah. Okay. Besides Baltimore.
Yep.
He was a Met.
He was a Met, yep, of course.
He was a Philly.
He was a Philly, yes.
He was a Texas Ranger.
He was a Texas Ranger. Now, here's the weird part. I didn't remember Philadelphia, and it was 3 years. So I did get one of the 3 one-year stops.
Okay. He was in Cleveland,
That's
right?
That's the one that I got. That was the one.
Was he a Cub?
He was a Cub. Holy crap, you've got 6 out of 7. This is unreal.
6 out of 7.
The other stop was
Atlanta?
Oh, no, it wasn't Atlanta. It was right after his second Baltimore stint in 2017. He was a Tampa Bay Ray. Was the other stop
right
for
part
Tommy
part of the country.
Yep, right. That was where he was. I've been waiting on this guy because I don't like him, but he did play in the major leagues, and I think we know no matter how many dude bros yell about it, he's never going to play in the major leagues again. Trevor Bauer, 4 teams.
4 teams for Trevor Bauer would be Cincinnati, Cleveland, the Dodgers, and he was originally with the Diamondbacks,
That is
right?
correct. That is correct. And then the last one for today, a 3-time All-Star, an inspirational story, someone who is relief pitcher of the year twice in the American League. And there's someone that I think is still active. Yes, correct. Still active. Liam Hendriks is the final name today. 6 teams.
6 teams for him. Holy
That
cow.
includes a new team this year, by the way.
Okay, I don't remember. Oakland and Chicago White Sox are the
big ones.
Are certainly the 2 spots that he's most known for. Correct?
Yes.
Was he a Cub?
Never a Cub. Was that wasn't there another Hendricks?
Yeah, Kyle Hendricks.
Kyle Hendricks was a Cub. Yeah.
He'd be a good one for this game.
I'm trying to remember where else he's been.
So there were 2 other multi-year stops. One at the beginning of his career.
Yeah, I'll just throw out the Dodgers because I always throw out the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's a good one to throw out. I get it. No.
And Colorado and San Diego.
Right. So yeah, it was Minnesota at the start, Toronto, Kansas City, and he's currently in Boston. That's the story for Liam Hendriks. What is on your plate this week, my friends?
We'll be at the CA semis on Thursday, and then we'll be at the A10 final up in Philadelphia on Saturday.
Very good. Of course, at Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter, and of course also on Blue Sky. And USA Lacrosse Magazine, I assume there'll be a big tournament, the thing that you do every year, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. We look forward to that. The A to Z is looking forward to that next week. Patrick Stevens, always appreciate you, sir. We'll talk again next Tuesday. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Take care.
It's Patrick Stevens with us as he is every Tuesday here on GCR. Are you going to get out to CA tournament at all this week?
Unfortunately, I will not be able to. Yeah, gotta work both. We're working both days of the CA tournament.
When is the championship on Saturday?
What time?
Yeah.
Let's see what time that might be.
If it's before, I right now the only work I have is
3:30 p.m.
I wouldn't be able to be at the Live Casino and Hotel by 5:30. That math won't work. I was hoping that was going to be an early afternoon game. That would have been a much more pleasant.
Yeah, 4 and 7 to not tomorrow. Thursday.
What are you doing over there, CAA? Why 3:30? I guess because somebody's playing at 7 o'clock on Thursday. All right, never mind. I do understand that. You don't want to have them play it. That's tough to play at 7 o'clock on Thursday.
Someone couldn't set up a lacrosse red zone or something, and just have all the games have multiple games going on.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, so you can just cut back and forth with multiple games going on.
No, but I wouldn't be able to be there.
Well, yeah, I know.
That's the point. The point is I wanted to go. I wanted to take the kids.
Okay, so why is it not at noon? Is that what?
Yeah, if it was at noon, it'd be great for me at 1 o'clock. But I know why it's not at noon. It's not at noon because they're playing at 7 o'clock. One of those teams will have played a game at 7 o'clock on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to make the turnaround a noon game on Saturday. You want to give them a little bit more time. I get why they decided, because it's also not a TV thing. The game's not on TV. It's on
it's on Lacrosse TV.
Lacrosse TV, which is fine, but that's streaming. So it's not like they said, although I don't know what Lacrosse TV's other offerings are. Maybe they have a 12 o'clock. Maybe they've got the A10 or something like that. I don't know. Admittedly, I don't know all the details of these things, but I would have liked that game to be a bit earlier, but that's just selfish for me because I would have liked to have taken the kids. That's all that is. And that's the only – well, I guess the Patriot League women's tournament is local because Loyola's hosting that. But I think that's the only local because obviously the Big Ten's out in Michigan, and Bryant's hosting the America East, and Army's hosting the Patriot League. So that's it. That's it as far as local lacrosse is concerned. Boy, Maryland women nearly beat Northwestern. Oh, my God.
Mount St. Mary's women are hosting this week.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. It's a little bit of a haul, but that's cool.
I'll be up there Friday. Come hang out with myself, Christian Taylor.
Oh yeah, I'm working with Christian on Thursday. We're doing the Patriot League women together.
Nice.
This will be the first time.
Christian's busy.
I think he might be a little. I'm gonna be his color analyst because Christian does all the Loyola women's games. And so in a bind, they were like, "Hey, we apparently I don't want to give away any of the dirty laundry." But I think there was a communication issue between the league, and they were like, I think they were going to provide a color analyst, and then that didn't happen. And so they were like, hey, and I sensed when I told Christian, there was almost like I love Christian. He's a great kid. I've known him for years. He was like, wow, I'm really honored. Christian, you're a pro.
That's the correct response.
You're good, man. You're good. So I'm doing the Patriot
You
League.
said you're welcome.
Yeah, right? you should be so lucky. Navy's really good, too, but Loyola hasn't lost a Patriot League game in years, so we'll see how that goes. But I think Navy gets in no matter what. So that'll be an interesting week. But, yeah, I'm going to do those with him on Thursday. So busy week again. It's always my wife always asks at the beginning of the week, like, hey, what's your schedule look like? And I'm like, get back to me on Wednesday.
I'll tell you the day before each day.
Weird how that goes.
Yeah.
If you've got something that's important, tell me now, and I'll block off that time for you. But otherwise, be flexible. Just never know where I'm supposed to be. All right. A couple things that I do want to get into, including I had some people who responded to some of the things I said about Shedeur Sanders yesterday and some things Jeremy and I talked about. I want to cover that because I did get a bunch of feedback yesterday from people, and I have some. I want to flush that thought out a little bit more. So we'll do that when we come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get tubular, and we will wind things down for a Tuesday edition. And I'm sure you're dying to know what the trivia results were from last night.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing you guys finished top 2 because that's what you always finish. And there's only like 3 teams now that show up.
Oh, so. You're still on the damn text thread. I always forget that
I
Griffin's
haven't
still
looked,
on the. He played one time, and we added him to the thread.
I didn't look.
He was part of the team.
Is that what happened? You guys finished second?
We could have used people last night, too. We were down to the 4 of us. See if Griffin ever shows up again. All right, we'll do all that when we come back in.
Why don't you guys split up and have multiple teams then, so you guys compete against each other?
No.
How many teams show up then?
Last night it's been thin.
Okay,
it's been getting thin recently. There was only 4 last night. Not great. There were 2 sports questions, so we'll deal with that when we come back in. Glenn Clark Radio.
Discover luxury without limits at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. This April, unlock a world of high fashion delights and exclusive style. Earn entries daily starting April 1st and join our drawing on Friday, April 25th. 19 will win up to $2,000 in cash and free play. And one grand prize winner will take home a curated Versace homeware collection. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at driveeasymd.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious spilling sandwiches, including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Sorry, I'm enjoying my tea that Griffin kindly made for me because I was struggling a little bit today.
You're welcome.
And I did appreciate it. It was very nice of him. That's, somebody would say that's what the producer is supposed to do, but we're a different era of.
Oh, your voice hurts?
Yeah. I mean, I hate. We are in a very different era of what a producer's role is supposed to be. Once upon a time, it was obvious. Whether I came in with a sore throat or not, you would have a tea or something prepared for me once upon a time. That is not the era that we're in. So Griffin actually asked. He said, "Would you like me to make a tea for you?" And I said, "That's very thoughtful, Griffin. Thank you." And I did appreciate that.
And then he sipped it, and he was like, "Hey, spit it,
I
boy!"
spit it right in his face.
It's too hot.
Too much. Threw it in his face. How you like this, huh? That's the way that it went. All right. So a couple things. One, I got an interesting amount of response. I guess it's just become the topic du jour. It's the thing that we've kind of traipsed into like politics, and it's crossed over. So I got some responses from people, the conversation that Jeremy and I were having about Shedeur Sanders yesterday. And one of the thoughts that I had was from Chris, who said, Glenn, I understand everything you're saying about Mel Kiper and his comments about Shedeur Sanders. I thought Mel Kiper was out of line, but admittedly, when I watch these networks, I never know when they're pushing these guys to be caricatures of themselves. Here's the reality. What Shedeur Sanders did in these meetings has to matter. It can't ever be that we just allow players to do whatever they want, to show no respect to the organization, the people that they're around, and then say, but they're talented anyway, so we have to use big assets on them. There's no way that will ever be good business. There is probably room to discuss the arrogance of certain guys that went above him. I'm not trying to suggest there aren't still undertones or problems within the league. But if the reports about the way that Shedeur Sanders acted are true, there's no way that teams could simply dismiss that and say, but we're going to give you a boatload of money and we are going to make you a priority. And you know what, Chris? There's a lot of truth to what it is that you're saying. And I think that's part of the problem with having the Shedeur Sanders conversation is it's really complicated. And we're not good at that, right? Like what we're good at is, hey, if you just do something else, you get a different result. Like we're good at that. We're not good at complicated conversations. And so what can be true is that Shedeur Sanders and his camp, whether you want to, blame Deion for that or the Deion Sanders enterprise, probably made mistakes in this process, multiple mistakes. That's most likely. There's enough reports out there that to dismiss all of them or think that it's all, NFL teams trying to cover their ass to hide their racism. It's too much to try to think that all of this is nonsense. There is almost no doubt that multiple mistakes were made by the Deion Sanders enterprise and Shedeur Sanders himself. The twofold problem to me is that alone isn't true either, right? On the flip side, we'll see. It looks like Justin Fields is really going to finally get his chance to be the guy in New York. Now, how great of a situation that is, that's a different conversation. We can talk about that. But it does look like finally someone's giving Justin Fields a chance. But I've said all along that if John Eisenberg wrote another chapter to Rocket Men, that Justin Fields to me would be a very interesting chapter to write. Because we treat this like it's binary. And when somebody says, oh, you're alleging racism, but who was Justin Fields replaced with in Chicago? Another black quarterback. Who was Justin Fields replaced with in Pittsburgh?
Right.
Another black quarterback. So that would be someone's argument against the idea that the treatment of Justin Fields is just racist. But it's so much more complicated than that. Racism is this thing that we try to paint one way or the other with this broad brush. That it's only racist if you see that you legit. I hate people that are a different color than I am. I hate minorities. That's not all that racism is. It's in the way that you go about making decisions. We think that every racist has to look like a KKK member. It's not that simplistic. It's a much larger conversation. I think Justin Fields is getting a fair chance in New York, right? I think. don't know that either, right? Like, it might very well be that he's not. I don't know. I don't know personally all the details about Shedeur Sanders. If you ask me one way or the other, am I inclined to be a Shedeur Sanders fan or am I inclined to not be a Shedeur Sanders fan? I would first tell you I'm completely neutral. I have no inclination. And if I don't know why you put a gun to my head and said, you got to pick one or the other. Again, like, what are we doing? How did we get into this situation? I guess I would say I'm inclined to not be because of all of the media hype that has surrounded Shedeur Sanders. But I'm neutral. I really am. I don't have any opinion about Shedeur Sanders. I'm not a Colorado fan. I'm not a Jackson State fan. I have no... Deion Sanders was a Raven for 6 minutes. Like, I have no...
You owe this to Deion to put over Shedeur.
His legendary run in Baltimore. I was so excited when the Ravens added Deion Sanders. I still thought he might be Deion Sanders at that point.
So that's what this is about. You're still hold a grudge for him not
dude,
being...
Not only was I excited about it, I went on, like, I guess it was eBay. It would have been the early days of eBay, and found a tape of Deion Sanders for when Must Be the Money came out. And, like, I bought it. I made my friends listen to it. Like, I was so hyped up about Deion Sanders. I think that there are people that are openly rooting against Shedeur Sanders because of the Deion Sanders hype machine. It doesn't affect you in any way that Colorado retired Shedeur Sanders' jersey. It has nothing to do with your life. There is no reason to have a thought about it. But there's the negativity theory suggests that we crave negativity. And so instead of just being able to ignore it and say, why would I care if Shedeur Sanders had his jersey retired? Why would that impact me at all? We pounce on that. And we think that because that happened, that someone deserves their comeuppance, right? Does Shedeur Sanders deserve to have a jersey retired at Colorado? Probably not, right? Like, almost certainly not. There's really no argument for it. Travis Hunter, great. He won the Heisman Trophy. That's a big deal at a place like Colorado. I mean, like, they have accomplished things in the past. They did win a national championship, but, like, there's not such a storied history that somehow winning the Heisman Trophy alone does not make you elevated above other you are elevated. You are an absolute legend. 1,000%. Travis Hunter deserved that. Shedeur Sanders? Not really. But does it matter? Not at all. Who cares? I mean, Cordell Stewart might care because he doesn't have his jersey retired, and I can understand that. But we pounce on it, and it creates this overwhelming negativity. We all as a society say, how dare he? This is proof of their arrogance, and then we just openly root against them. And then it paints the way we discuss these players because we have a negative feeling towards them. You told me about how great they were going to be, and then they won 4 games 2 years ago. To be fair, they won more than that this year. They got into a legitimate
won 9 games, yeah.
They were never...
They had a chance at the Big 12
yeah,
title.
I mean
it was
in like the world where everyone
Big 12,
had a chance at the Big 12 title. But, like, they were good. They were good. But we've just taken anything and used it as our excuse to dunk on or root against someone. And it muddies the waters, and it's where this conversation becomes more real. Where does the reality of Shedeur Sanders, the football player, Shedeur Sanders, the prospect, meet the negativity that we treat Shedeur Sanders with? And where does that meet? Would we definitively treat a white prospect the exact same way if all of the other things were true? As I've said over and over again, we loved Johnny Manziel's arrogance. We loved it. He was wildly popular. Does that make it blatant racism? No. But is it a tough juxtaposition? It is. And Johnny Manziel's was way more in your face than Shedeur Sanders was publicly. Now, again, if these reports like him being utterly disrespectful in meetings with teams, if they're true, then it also feels like there's a conversation about how the process goes that the Sanders camp maybe wanted to try to break the process. And that's an interesting conversation as well. Because as a lot of people have pointed out, the process is kind of bullshit. I get why a lot of prospects are willing to play the game, because the reward is a handsome contract to play in the NFL. But does the process make sense? We've allowed a lot of complete nonsense, grilling humans about whether or not their mother was ever a prostitute, which has nothing to do with whether or not they're capable of playing football. But we've just allowed it in the name of, well, this is the way that it works. You want to be a part of this? You got to go along with it. We get to ask you whether you want to be a cat or a dog, as if that has anything to do with how you're going to handle picking up a blitz. It seems as though there was a bit of a leverage play here. We're also trying to make a statement about how ridiculous this process is. And that part is correct. Just because it's what we've done doesn't make it justifiable. It's the thing I say about unwritten rules in baseball all the time. When you defend an unwritten rule of baseball and just say, well, that's just baseball, what you're saying is you can't justify it. It's unjustifiable. It's a complicated conversation, man. The fortunate part is it doesn't impact us directly. The Ravens were never going to be in the market for Shedeur Sanders. Although, you know.
He kept sliding.
Or somebody would say in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Like, you got a 5th-round pick, you're definitely going to use it in a worse way than somebody who might be
a really good backup quarterback.
Yeah. You know, someone that maybe could win you some games if your guy gets hurt. But the more overwhelmingly likely scenario is they were never going to draft Shedeur Sanders, so it doesn't really impact us. But I don't know. It's so funny. I have a very close friend who's a massive Steelers fan, and all throughout the day on Saturday, he was like, well, this makes sense for the Browns. You know, the Steelers couldn't do this. Why would they want the circus for a backup quarterback? I'm like, what, are you out of your mind? They're taking a circus for a guy that can't play anymore, we think.
Yeah, be careful what you say.
Yeah,
play this clip back. He throws 40 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Yeah, sure. You want to make that bet?
I'll take the.
You want? What do you want?
I'll take the. I'll say he does not have a plus 37 touchdown.
No. I see
interception
you have to go the other way.
Well, I don't want to set the line at 37.
Yeah, I can see. But like I'm like, are you out of mind? And he kept saying like, well, the Browns need to draft multiple quarterbacks because they're wasting all that money on Deshaun Watson. I'm like, wait. Well,
they did.
Wait.
This guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
It's my friend. I'll call him that. That's one of my best friends. It's my friend Brandon Linton from Jobbing Out. And we're in this text, he and my friend Aaron from
talking about
Circa
Seth
Vegas.
freaking Rollins,
yes.
obviously, and then
Cutting
you're like,
the
wow, this
promo.
promo, that's Seth freaking Rollins. I wish we were there.
So he's like, Aaron says, I think a lot of teams, any team that doesn't have a quarterback should do what the Browns did. I think any team that doesn't have a quarterback should draft multiple quarterbacks. We've gone back and looked at, like, you haven't really found that philosophy. I did do a search on this, drafting multiple quarterbacks. It's not worthy of using for a tidbit because
there's not many have done it. Well, let's say the Commander, Washington.
That one worked out probably the best of any of them.
I don't know if I can think of any other. I guess that's the only reason I know
famously,
of it.
They drafted Robert Griffin III and Kirk Cousins in the same draft, and Robert Griffin III worked for a year, and maybe would have worked out more if I don't know, but like that's about the only one that's ever really proved to be particularly smart. I actually found somebody had a tweet. Now I can't find it. Oh, for God's sakes.
Had a tweet about...
here we go. Steven Ruiz tweeted it out. The history in the 7-round era, the Browns are the 11th team to draft 2 quarterbacks in the same year. The history, 1994, the then Redskins took Heath Shuler with the 3rd overall pick and Gus Frerotte with 197th. Gus Frerotte actually became a starting NFL quarterback after Heath Shuler flamed out, but neither one of them became anything. 95 in Carolina, they took Kerry Collins with the 5th pick.
Okay.
Turned into an NFL quarterback. And then Jerry Colquitt with the 191st pick. So Kerry Collins was mildly successful.
Started Super Bowl, right?
Not for them, but
well, yeah.
Jake Del Holmes started their Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, Kerry started.
Yeah, he started for the Giants.
Yeah,
yes, in Super Bowl 35, correct.
And then what? Had the Titans? They started 10-0 or something that one year.
Absolutely had a chance, and they lost in the playoffs too. The Baltimore Ravens. That is correct. In 1999, Cincinnati, Achilles Smith.
Okay.
No. Scott Covington. No. In 2000, the San Francisco 49ers. This one probably the roughest one because we remember who they could have had in this draft. They took Giovanni Carmazzi with the 65th pick. Famously, this was a year where there was some fella that was selected named Tom Brady.
A
little bit later on. They took Tim Rattay.
They took 2 quarterbacks, and one of
them
was not
quarterbacks and didn't get Tom Brady, who was from San Francisco.
Wow.
So real rough scene. 2003, the Texans took Dave Ragone and Drew Henson. Nothing. 2008, Green Bay took Brian Brom and Matt Flynn, who did briefly become a starting quarterback in the NFL with Seattle, but it was brief and fleeting. In 2010, Carolina tried it again with Jimmy Clausen and Tony Pike, who's been
a starter in the NFL.
He was. And Tony Pike, who's been a guest on this program before.
Oh, really?
Because he does a radio show out in Cincinnati. Nice guy. 2012, famously Washington, Robert Griffin III and Kirk Cousins. 2022, Pittsburgh, Kenny Pickett and Chris Oladukan. So they got that going for him. 2024, last year, New England took Drake May. Looks pretty good. And Joe Milton.
Gotcha.
Who
both could be real.
Yeah, I don't want to.
My Steelers fan friend wants them to trade for Joe Milton.
Didn't somebody already trade for Joe Milton?
Oh, yeah, right.
Didn't Dallas already trade for Joe Milton?
You're right, he did.
Isn't he the new backup?
Well, he
there?
wanted Joe Milton to be traded there.
Good luck. Good luck. The point is, there's not. But what Aaron was saying is that any team, when you don't have a quarterback, you need to do everything. You should be desperate to solve quarterback to the point of taking multiple quarterbacks. And you know what? I agree. In theory, even if in practicality it hasn't led to a lot of franchise quarterbacks. But the point being, without a quarterback, you have nothing. If you don't have a franchise quarterback on your roster, whether you're wasting a ton of money on Deshaun Watson or Derek Carr's hurt or you're just in Pittsburgh and you've decided that the quarterback, you could just play without one. If you don't have a franchise quarterback on your roster, and I would even say beyond not having a franchise quarterback, well, I mean, because somebody would say if you have a starting quarterback, you might not need to. I still think in Las Vegas they should have drafted multiple quarterbacks. They don't have a franchise quarterback on the roster. They have Geno Smith. You need to flood the zone.
Did they take one?
I gotta think they did, right? There's no way the Raiders didn't take a quarterback. That would be insane. I didn't pay that close of attention.
Let's see. Well, they got the guy Ashton Genty. He was pretty good.
He's all right.
Jack Besh. He seems like he might be all right. Everyone's excited about it.
like
Yeah.
him.
They got the Charles Grant, the William and Mary tackle. Why is it not showing me the rest of their picks here?
Right.
Tommy Mellott.
Who is that?
A quarterback.
Who is it?
And he comes from. Why is this so convoluted here? Nothing.
He's not a quarterback. He's a wide receiver, apparently.
Tommy Mellott is?
Yes.
The on the Raiders website it says the Raiders select QB Tommy Mellott.
They selected a quarterback named Cam Miller. Tommy Mellott is, I guess he was a quarterback that maybe they're moving to wide receiver.
Okay, got it. Montana State.
Montana State.
So they drafted 2 quarterbacks.
They did technically draft 2 quarterbacks, if you want to treat it that way. What is Cam Miller? I don't know who that is. Cam Miller was North Dakota State.
All right, so yeah, just gonna convert all the FCS guys.
I guess that's the plan. Tommy Mellott. They list him as a wide receiver, and it looks like that's the. I still can't tell. I still have no idea what the.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's pictures of him throwing the football, but yeah, it says that it looks like they want to use him as a wide receiver.
Yes, a wide receiver is the plan. But I think all those teams should
Maybe they'll make both wide receivers.
Maybe. Who knows? I think all those teams should draft multiple quarterbacks. 100%. Until you find your quarterback, you're effed. Draft 3. The Steelers, even if they have Aaron Rodgers, I don't know that they have a quarterback for this year. They certainly don't have a franchise quarterback. So if I was in Pittsburgh, this is unique. Yes, I get Chris's point is that like the pre-draft process has to matter, and you can't just think that these teams have these meetings with these players that, one, maybe they're not overwhelmed by to begin with. And I think that was the overall sense about this quarterback class. I don't know that everybody was overwhelmed by Cam Ward, but the word was he nailed the pre-draft process and made it easier for the Titans to say definitively, we don't have a quarterback, we can't mess around with this. It's got to be this guy. I get it. You're right. It has to matter. But on the flip side, if I don't have a quarterback, I can't justify this. I can't say, but it makes sense that we passed on Shedeur Sanders. You can't. There's no way that you could be okay with that if you have no quarterback. You had the chance to take Shedeur Sanders in the 3rd round, and you said 4th round, and you said, nah, he wasn't great in the pre-draft process. We'll pass. No. Not a justification. But it's a complicated conversation, man.
Yeah. I feel like the Ravens should have taken this guy. They call him Touchdown Tommy, apparently.
Tommy Malott?
Yeah.
That's your guy. You all of a sudden, post-draft, Griffin's found his draft crush.
They called him in Bozeman.
It's too late, but he's got his draft
Touchdown
crush.
Tommy.
Oh, Touchdown Tommy.
I mean, I was stunned. I don't know why. Like watching Friday night, like it was. I mean, it turned into incredible television because it was like, oh my God, Tyler Show went, then it went, then
Shug.
I've heard it 80 different ways. I still can't. I don't think I've said the same
people,
one back to back times.
Enough people have said Shug that I'm going with it.
Tyler Shug, Shug Knight, Tyler Shug Knight. So what? He went, and then Gabriel went before, and then who was the other one? That Jalen Milroe went Friday night, and it that one was kind of like, okay, I guess I can see that. But the other one, I mean, Dylan Gabriel going was a shocker, and I mean, it felt like, because I mean, I've been on this, like I've been riding this Colorado bandwagon from afar, but I mean, like I want to see, like, I think it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like what if it works? Like what? And they won 9 games last year, and and taking these players like Travis Hunter was unbelievable, and I think it's been a really fun story to watch. Deion going from Jackson
but I don't
State
think anybody's doubted Travis Hunter in this process. I think.
Obviously,
the negativity has been directly towards Deion.
The Sanderses,
and that I can do it better than you can thing. And by the way, I still think it's a complicated conversation because it's easy to knock that, but at the same time, there are probably elements of truth to it. If I were a Steelers fan, I'd be furious that my team didn't take Shedeur Sanders. I'd be furious. There's no justifying it. I guess unless Will Howard becomes
the next Tom Brady.
Yeah, right. Like if
have to be.
That would be the only way that it could be justified is if Will Howard becomes the next Tom Brady. But I think that's very unlikely that proves to be the case.
So it almost feels like just because I don't know when it felt like this has never happened before, where there's a guy that's like he went from top 5 pick.
Look, there were
first rounder.
There were people around the league who said
day 3.
It's insane that we're talking about him like he's a top 5 pick. He's a late first round, early second round type of prospect that we are overvaluing because of the quarterback position. But even if that's true, it's insane. Utterly and completely insane. All right.
But it almost feels like he has to be great now. Like that's just like this
story
is going to be.
There is definitely. It's what I said to Jeremy. Like I can't believe I'm saying it, but now I kind of almost find myself rooting for him too.
Well,
right?
yeah, and then all the BS that happened Friday night, and
the prank call. Yeah, that's utter nonsense. I don't really want to spend much time on the prank call, right?
I didn't mean to bring it up for that.
No. I understand. I would tell you it really bothers me.
And I've liked Shedeur the whole time. Like that's
around professional sports, the people involved want to make – one of the things that was great for me when I covered the team – I've said this before. When I covered the Ravens, when I was in the locker room every day, one of the things I first did is I walked around to every player in the locker room, introduced myself, and said, hey, man, can I get your number in case I ever have anything that I need to talk to you about? And if they said no, they said no. Almost none did. But I introduced myself. I said, I'm Glenn Clark. I'm with this radio station. I'm on at this time. If you turn it on, you're going to hear me. A lot of them did listen. You know, like a lot of them would joke when I walked into, it's the Glenn Clark show coming in here. Like, it was a different era, right, where sports radio was bigger and there wasn't. And it was good to have their number because then if I even just had a question about something, I was looking for context. I would just text. And some guys wanted to respond, some guys didn't want to respond, and I appreciated that. Now, I'm not in the locker room every day, so I'm not in the locker room at all anymore. I do understand that it's different, but what I would say is, at the time, the team liked that I did that. They liked that I would reach out and that they knew me and all that. That's changed, in part because of this. Because this
the maturity
happens,
of society.
They don't want anybody to have anybody's numbers. You can talk to them through us.
Well, and then this kid proved them right.
And that's the problem. That's why it bothered it. That thing will make my life more difficult, make our lives more difficult. It's not okay. If I was a plumber, what happened isn't okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it particularly bothers me because that's backing up why it is that my life is more difficult and what we do is more difficult. And so I was furious seeing that. I mean, I beside myself, pissed off about it. And I would add in, look, I think I've told this story before. This happened to me once. When I was an idiot. I went out, I was 25 years old, 2008. Part of my job, Drew and I talked about it before, part of our job, we had to talk to Joe Flacco twice a week because we did a deal during Joe Flacco's rookie season. And so one of the first a buddy of mine, I was out in College Park hammered, and a buddy of mine saw my phone, saw that I had been texting with Joe, and called him. And it was a really embarrassing moment for me. And I've always appreciated Joe's grace. Like, I think everybody knows how much I like Joe Flacco personally. I don't think that's I saw him, I don't remember what the game was that week, but I saw him after the game, and I was just in the locker room, and I was unaware that this had happened. And Joe yelled over to me and said, "Hey, Glenn, what's up, man? Pretty funny message I got from you the other night."
Oh, God.
What?
And you were like, how drunk was I?
Yeah, right? Like, oh, no. You know, I can't even think about what would have happened. And it was just my drunken idiot buddy, like, was like, and it wasn't anything, you know, cruel. Like, he just called, like, "Hey, man, you're killing it. Go beat the whatever on Sunday." That's all it was, right? Like, it was not bad, you know what I mean? But it was still completely unprofessional and completely inappropriate and not okay. And I was effusive in my apologies. Like, that can't happen. And, you know, I had to learn a tough lesson that day. Unacceptable. And I don't know, like, a lot of people talked about, like, when does it become criminal? Like, I don't know, right? Like, prank phone calls have been part of, like, culture for a long time. Now we just don't really make phone calls anymore. So
right.
I would say the NFL's got to have a better system than this. Like, they've got to be able to use Microsoft or whatever their corporate partner is to create a way that they can have secure connections for draft weekend between teams and draft prospects. Like, say to all the prospects, like, this is you'll know it's this person, not because you see a phone number, because you'll be getting a Teams call.
It says the New Orleans Saints are calling you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be a way. And I can't believe they haven't done that yet. I can't believe that doesn't exist. That all of the teams understand for draft weekend specifically, in the lead up to the draft, if you want to call a person on their cell phone to check, that's one thing. But once the draft begins, the way that you get in touch with this person is you go to your Zoom, Skype, whatever it would be. I think they are still Microsoft, so it'd be Microsoft Teams. You go to Teams, you sign into this protected account, and you have all of the prospects will be listed there, every single one of them. And all of them know these are the 32 teams, and if you see one pop up, you answer that call. I can't believe that that's not the way that they still it's insane to me.
Well, and to your point, like, I mean, just like how mad, like how infuriating it was to see all that. It was like, I was like, should Jeff Ulbrich lose his job over this? Like, for his carelessness.
It's a tough thing because like it's
not his fault, but like
right, it's not.
It
and
is.
As someone who had that happen, like I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Right? I don't think he should lose his job over it. I don't. I genuinely feel that way, but I don't know the answer. I don't have all the answers to this, other than the first thing the NFL should be doing, because again, the word is that like it happened to Tyler Warren and it happened to somebody else.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was not an isolated thing this weekend. Is that they should be creating a system by which this is no longer. There's no way that this happens, and how have we not done this already? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that the NFL should be working on. All right.
My last theory on the Shador is that so I feel like, you know, all the NFL teams know that Deion's going to be coaching in the NFL in like the next year or two.
So
you know, why waste legitimate draft capital? Yeah, they're going to force a trade to get Shador or whatever. You know, back to Dallas, where, you know, after he replaces Schottenheimer in 2 years.
In 2 years, the middle of the season. Last night, so there were two sports questions. One.
Boy.
Wildly easy. The first one was, who was the number one pick in the draft?
Okay.
Legitimately. And part two, who did the Ravens take in the first round? So
I think I got those.
That was a social.
Malaki Starks went to the Ravens.
Yeah. Think about it a little bit more. You might come up with it.
And then it was close. Shador did not go first overall. It was Cam Ward. Yeah.
Is that what it is? So then the other one, I think we did as trivia a couple weeks ago, and I still didn't get all of it.
I do all this to try and prep you. And
hang on a second, let me pull it up. This was Rory McIlroy.
Oh God!
Joined which 5 male golfers to complete a modern Grand Slam? I only got 3 of 5.
It was Tiger.
Yes.
And then it was I know, because I was looking at it when I gave it to you. Player.
Correct.
Tiger, Rory. Because there were 6 of them, so he joins this.
There are 5 correct answers.
Nicholas.
Correct. 3 out of 5. If you get one more, you'll have you might be the sports guy on the team.
I don't think he did it. It was I mean, as soon as you say one of the the 5th one or whatever. I'm going to go with
I was confident in another one and I was wrong.
Palmer.
No. I knew that was incorrect.
Yeah.
Because I remember when they put it up on the screen after Rory won, I was like, "Wow, Arnold Palmer's not on that list. How about it?"
Yeah, because like Rory was the first since Tiger, so they were all before Tiger. I feel like there was another guy in the 90s, and I can't remember his name. And there was probably another really old guy, too, that I'm also not going to be able to get his name. One of them start with a B?
Yes.
It's like, it's something weird, too, isn't it? There's like a couple E's, there's a bunch of E's in it. Maybe like 2.
There's 1 E.
No, there's 1 E. I'm not gonna know. I don't know his name. I know. I for some reason.
So you're not. You don't get to take over as being the sports guy.
I guess
on the
not.
team. Unfortunately, we're only even. I was confident Sam Snead was one of the answers, but that was not correct. The 2 were Ben Hogan.
Ben Hogan.
And because I thought Bobby Jones was the other guess that I made. Gene Sarazen, the other one. So those were the 5.
I got that one.
We finished in second last night. We actually had the final correct, but we did not wait. We were in first going into the final. We were not confident in our answer. It was who is the only president to have previously been a commerce secretary?
To be a commerce secretary?
Everyone in the bar got it.
The only president to previously be a Commerce Secretary.
Well, the position only started in like the early 1900s, so it knocks out a lot of presidents. You don't know.
That'd be Ford.
Yeah. Herbert Hoover.
Hoover. I said Hoover.
And we got it, but we only wagered
What?
6 points. And everybody else got it. We were guessing. Everybody else got it.
How'd you guess Hoover?
Well, because we could rule out a lot of we
well, it's not Trump. It's not,
we could go back really far, and then we're just doing the background on. We could name all the presidents since 1900 whatever it was, and we're like, this person did this, this person did this, this person was a senator, this person
wasn't
was
Teddy.
military. What's that?
You sure it wasn't Teddy Roosevelt?
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt again. Time wise, would not have worked.
When was he? What was his last term? Or he was?
You're thinking of FDR.
But I thought Teddy was the president in like 01. Or was like his term ended in 01 or something.
Might have ended. Might have ended. It was 01 to 09. You are correct about that.
All right, boom.
But then he was the president when they started the Commerce, so he couldn't have been.
Maybe he
Commerce
pulled
Secretary.
double duty.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the way that it works. This one was hilarious. So one of the questions last night was which 4 artists have won Grammy for Album of the Year before reaching their 23rd birthday? And they gave us the years.
Taylor Swift.
So that is correct for 2010. 1964, 1996, 2010, and 2020. We were so confident in the first answer. We got 3 out of 4. But the one that we missed was the one we were most confident in. Was 1964. We thought for sure.
Oh. You weren't most confident in Taylor Swift?
Well, I'll explain why.
You weren't sure she was 23.
I knew it was correct.
Okay.
But somebody else, it was very. So the 2010 one, of course, is Taylor Swift, which I knew, and I said that. But our buddy Dan looked up at the screen and he said, "Dude, she was born in 1989, so she would have only been 21." And I'm like, "Yes, correct,
nailed it."
And he's like, "It says before her 23rd birthday, so like she would have been 22. She couldn't have been 22." He thought somehow the wording of the question meant it had to be the year.
They had to be 23.
They were turning 20. I'm like,
4 23-year-olds.
No, it's
have
just
won the
saying
Grammy.
that they were younger than 23.
Who was the 2021?
We were screaming about it so much that we completely missed. Because in the math, I don't know why I thought the math worked. I just I thought of a prodigy, but the math does not work.
For 64?
Yeah, I was way off on the math. Way off on the math.
64.
He did have his first.
Elvis.
Our guess was Stevie Wonder, who had his first #1 hit in 1963. So that's why I was confident that it had to be Stevie Wonder. But it was not. It was Barbra Streisand in 1964. Wow. Yeah, which also seems crazy.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, Barbra Streisand, that?
What was the other one, 89?
96 and 2020 were the others.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Tupac.
96, at first we were struggling with, and then as soon as I said it out loud, we were all like, oh, my God, that's definitely it.
Biggie.
No, 96 was Alanis Morissette.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was just trying to go through 90s artists. I'm like, what do I want to album? I'm like, oh, Jagged Little Pill, yes. And then we just had to, because then it had to be the year before, because the Grammys so we just had to be confident that the album came out in 95.
2019 albums, and I feel like I should probably, I guess, I don't know.
Major pop star. Massive, one of the biggest stars in the world. I wish I liked her more.
Dua Lipa.
Not Dua Lipa. Someone who, like, I think is okay, but everybody loves, like, she's universally beloved, and I'm just sort of meh.
Why can't I think of what would have come out in 2019?
This was her debut, and she won like all of the Grammy.
Olivia Rodrigo.
Not Olivia Rodrigo, who I love Olivia.
Yeah, you're
Rodrigo.
right. I feel like her album come out 21.
And I don't dislike this person. I'm very.
No, you dislike him. I get it. You hate. Was it so? It must be McGee then. I know you hate McGee.
I do hate McGee. Right.
It's Arcade Fire.
I'm definitely anti-Arcade Fire. You're right about that.
I go Bad Bunny then. I don't know. You said she, right? Yeah,
I said she. Billie Eilish.
Oh, okay.
Billie Eilish.
I haven't gotten that much into Billie Eilish either.
I don't know what it is. I don't think she's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, and she seems cool. She seems like she makes her own music, and I respect that. But like, I just don't like her music. It's just not good to me. That's the problem. So yeah, Billie Eilish was the other one. All right, we done wait. Somehow we didn't have a guest after 10 or after 11:10, and it's still 12:15, and here we are. I don't know how that.
Plenty of things to talk about. Lots to go over.
If you haven't picked up the print issue of Press Box yet, make sure you go do that right now. And on the cover, you'll find Felix Bautista as well as Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells. Great cover story from Luke Jackson, all about the hard road back from Tommy John surgery and major elbow surgery. Also inside, a lot on Samuel Basayo and Buzz Williams. All that in this new print issue of Press Box, which is available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, and you can read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. Go ahead, tidbit.
Fun one that I for Eugenio Suarez that I did that I failed to mention yesterday. So on Saturday when he hit his 4 home runs, he entered the day slugging 411 is pretty still decent, but he was slugging just 411 on the season. And then after hitting 4 home runs in each of his plate appearances, he brought his slugging percentage up to 564. Over 150-point jump. No other player.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no other player in the modern era has raised their slugging percentage 150 points in one day. So Eugenio with at least 100 plate appearances entering that day as well.
Okay.
So Eugenio Suarez did that. I got so I have an Eric Zeier one. I also have a Tomoyuki.
An Eric Zeier
yeah,
one?
so I guess I have to do that one.
I mean,
So
yeah, probably expired.
the quicker one then for Tomo Sagano, and I'll save the other Sagano one for tomorrow. He became the 6th pitcher to induce.
I don't know what the story is. Somebody told me on the show this morning, Jeremy screwed up Tomo Sagano and Chuck Pagano. I don't know the context. I don't know how it happened.
Jeremy's been up late watching the Warriors.
Yeah,
Rockets game.
I would love to know. I don't know if they put the audio out there, but I got a text from somebody who said, "Hey, your boy's having."
Chuck Pagano was dealing last night.
Yeah, right.
Man, Chuck still got it.
Look, I
was the same age.
I love this is the great thing about Jeremy is that like some people get very defensive about this. I don't have to worry about that with him.
Oh yeah,
we all know. You're gonna find 12 things I screwed up this morning, 50 things that I screwed up this morning. If we did this, but what's great about Jeremy is he'll have fun with it.
Tomo Pagano, he became the 6th pitcher to induce 9 whiffs on his splitter in 2025. Any chance you can name the other five pitchers? They're all starters to induce at least
I don't
9
know
whiffs.
About the splitter. I don't want to waste time. On this.
Logan Gilbert, Yamamoto
pretty
from
good.
the Dodgers. Yamamoto. Oh, sorry. So actually, he's just the 5th because Yamamoto's done this twice already in a game this season. Eovaldi and AJ Smith-Shaver from the Braves.
Okay.
So Yamamoto, Eovaldi, and Shaver both did it. All 3 did it 10 times in a game. So Sagano right up there with those big names. My Eric Zeier one for you. He is only he is the 7th. He is one of 7 SEC quarterbacks with over 11,000 passing yards in the SEC in their career.
Jesus Christ.
So SEC quarterbacks with
good.
11,000 passing yards.
All right. Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning, yes. Let's see, he's just 48 yards behind Peyton. He could have jumped him.
How many? You said there's 7?
Yes, including Zeier. So.
Eli.
Eli not here. Eli just 10,000.
Did you? And they had to be in the SEC when they did it. So like an old Texas or Oklahoma quarterback wouldn't be on the list, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Johnny Manziel.
Manziel, no. If I were Manziel, where would I be?
How about?
Just because he ran so much?
Yeah, I mean he did run a good bit, and maybe they moved into the SEC while Manziel was.
Yeah, that's right. Because I remember, I think that's like what made it so crazy.
Okay.
Was that like? Right. So maybe it was the first year after.
How about?
Manziel's 38th.
I'm trying to think of which of the Florida quarterbacks is Danny Werfel.
Not Danny Werfel. He'd be number 8 on the list. He had 10,875 yards.
Is there a Florida quarterback on the list?
There is a Florida quarterback.
Quarterback on the list. It's not Danny Werfel. It's not Tim Tebow. He ran too much. Danny Cannell.
Mm-mm.
Chris Leak.
Chris Leak.
Really?
Over 11,000 passing yards in his career.
I guess I should ask, is there an Ole Miss quarterback on the list?
There is not.
Man, this is tough. Am I going to find out these names are like really ball busting?
No, they're all on this side of this. I mean, yeah, I think that's obvious. But
is there Tim Couch?
Not Tim Couch. Where's Couch?
Is there a Kentucky quarterback on the list?
There is not.
Yikes.
The highest Kentucky guy is number 10, Jared Lorenzen. At 10,000 yards.
Tua.
Not Tua.
Is there an Alabama quarterback on the list?
There is not.
Ryan Mallett.
Highest Alabama. Not Ryan Mallett.
Is there an Arkansas quarterback on the
A.J.
list?
McCarron is the highest Alabama quarterback. You said Arkansas? No Arkansas.
It's not Cam because he transferred. Is there an Auburn quarterback on the list?
No.
Is there a Mississippi State quarterback on the list?
There is.
Oh, yikes. Dak.
Not Dak. And he was their quarterback from 2020 to 2023.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know his name escapes. He played with Washington last year apparently. Will Rogers.
Could have been here.
That was the toughest one, I think. Should be.
All right.
But Will Rogers, number 2 all time.
So we did Zeier. Is there another Georgia quarterback on the list?
There is.
Stafford.
Not Stafford.
Avery Murray.
Avery Murray?
Oh, Aaron Murray.
Aaron
Yeah, I don't
Murray.
know why
Aaron
I did
Murray
that.
is
Aaron
number
Murray, yeah.
1. He is number 1 over 13,000 yards. Most by
the most?
He is the most from 2010 to 2013. There is one more Georgia quarterback.
Christ, I don't think I can name another Georgia
01 to 04.
Fromm.
Nope. Not Jake Fromm.
Bennett.
Nope. 01 to 04.
Yeah. Oh, what the hell was that guy's name?
He was a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, he was actually pretty good.
By the Seattle Seahawks?
I mean, he didn't work out in the NFL, but he was a Green?
Yes.
Green. Oh, now I got to try to David?
Yep, David Green.
All right.
Old David Green with the Georgia Bulldogs. And then one other, he is 3rd all-time, over 12,000 yards.
What schools have I not? South Carolina. Vanderbilt? Jay Cutler? Okay. LSU?
Nope.
Missouri is the last one,
yes,
right?
Mizzou.
So it's
he's still in the NFL.
Blaine Gabbert.
No, not Blaine Gabbert. Is Blaine Gabbert still in the NFL? There's no way Blaine Gabbert's still in the NFL.
Who knows? Oh, Drew Lock.
Yes, Drew Lock. Drew Lock. There you go. Those are your all-time passing leaders in the NFL.
I thought you were going to go with trying to name all the quarterbacks the Ravens had ever drafted. I thought that was where you were going. Although, was Zeier technically a Raven when he was drafted, or was he drafted by the Browns? He might have been drafted by the Browns.
I think 96 was his first season, wasn't it? Or wait. No, yeah, I think you're right. I think he was drafted by the.
I think he 95. Yep, 95 3rd round. So
Gabbert
he technically was not drafted by the Ravens.
Gabbert did not. I don't think he played last year, but he was on the Chiefs in 2023 Super Bowl ring.
Oh, you know what? I do remember him announcing his retirement after the Super Bowl. I do remember that now. So that wasn't even just like a didn't sat out. He was legitimately retired.
Have you?
All right, very good. Let's get tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. Tonight, Kyle Gibson does indeed make his re-debut.
Kyle.
Here's the difficult part. Kyle Gibson's one of the nicest and best guys in the world. I could not like Kyle Gibson anymore as a person, what he's all about, what he stands for. I really pray that, like, Kyle Gibson is a guy somehow. Do I have confidence in it? Not
Aaron
remotely.
Judge is just 1 for 10 against Kyle Gibson.
Hell yeah, brother.
In his career, 4 strikeouts.
Somebody would say that makes him do, though. Somebody would say it that way.
No, it means that Kyle Gibson's going to continue to shove.
Love Kyle Gibson, the man. Hope that this works out. So that's tonight, 6:35 on Masson. Carlos Rodon goes for the Yankees. Patriot League Tournament, Navy Lafayette, 7:30 tonight on ESPN Plus in the quarterfinals. Maryland baseball's at Georgetown, although I don't think they play. I think they play in like a random place somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I think Georgetown.
Yeah, Georgetown always plays somewhere else.
I think that's their bid. 6 o'clock on the Maryland Baseball Network. NBA playoffs tonight. NBA TV for Bucks Pacers Game 5 at 6. Magic Celtics Game 5 at 8:30. The Pacers and the Celtics can close out there. The Knicks can close out the Pistons at home. Game 5, 7:30 on TNT.
You want to hear the differences in ticket prices? So to go to the Pacers game, get in is $35.
That's a little surprising. That's a basketball rabid place, and they got a chance to close the series out. Like, obviously, New York is going to be.
Get in for New York.
500.
You're a little 340.
340. Okay, yeah, that's about right. And then Clippers Nuggets pivotal Game 5 tonight, 10 o'clock on TNT as well. In the NHL, ESPN Senators Maple Leafs Game 5 at 7, Wild Golden Knights Game 5 at 9:30, TBS Devils Hurricanes Game 5 at 7:30, Oilers Kings Game 5 at 10.
Jeez, we got 4 on both sides.
Yeah, 4. There were 2 last night. I don't know what the
both sides only had 2, and then
it's very weird. Very weird. Masson 2, Nationals Phillies 6:45, MLB Network Red Sox Blue Jays 7:07, Marlins Dodgers 10:10. The free game on MLB TV is late. Angels Mariners 9:40, and Champions League semifinal leg 1 this afternoon. Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain, 3 o'clock on, I believe, CBS. I think that's on the network today. And then CW for WWE NXT tonight at 8. Non-sports.
Of course, we got a new episode, or three new episodes of Andor, the second season, at 9 o'clock on Disney Plus. Handmaid's Tale, new episode of that. It is the season 1 finale. The season 1 finale of St. Dennis Medical at 8 o'clock on NBC. And then those are really the big ones. Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Tucker Wetmore will be on Kimmel.
I don't know who Tucker Wetmore is.
Country music artist. Come on, dude.
Oh, okay. Then
Come on, dude.
well, now that I know that, oh my God, I'm so sorry. They're plugging Sinners.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think some people haven't seen it yet, so they just want to make sure they get them out there and see it. Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Tucker Wetmore. Who the F is Tucker Wetmore?
He had a song on the Twisters album. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I hate him because of his name. I have no choice.
I wanted to as well, but then he started singing.
Wasn't the George Carlin bit? Like,
Tucker
no,
Wetmore.
it was Todd. That was what it was. But he definitely said Tucker. Let's wrap the show with that. Pull up the George Carlin name thing. It's the greatest clip in the history of comedy. It's just about George Carlin, of course, is a genius. I mean, just brilliant. But maybe the greatest. I believe I'm getting a little sick of guys named Todd. And it's just about how much he hates modern names. Like, what happened to all the good names? And he definitely throws in a jab at Tuckers. And I'm like, you know what? I think I hate Tuckers, too. Do you have it? I don't know how long. It's the greatest clip in human history. Great George
Jeremy
Carlin.
Renner will be on Fallon, and along with Mary Lynn Rashskub.
The comedian, yeah.
Yes.
They're also plugging Sinners.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Big week
weird.
for Sinners.
Weird.
Tina Fey and Gabrielle Luna on Seth Meyers.
They're plugging Thunderbolts.
Say Gabrielle. I think it's Gabriel. Gabriel Luna.
Okay.
Really? So,
Yeah.
okay.
Thunderbolts.
Good. Yep. Good for them. Tina Fey is in the Four Seasons. That
I do
comes
want to
out,
watch that.
on Netflix later this week.
I'm almost through You. I really spent some time with You this weekend.
Did it get any pick up or
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
It's a really good season of You. It is. It's maybe I would say arguably there's too much going on, but I think that's because we know it's the end, and so it's chaos. I haven't finished it yet though, so I'm not sure.
All right, you want me to play it? Play it out, or
just a
play
little
it
bit of give it for people.
And I'm getting really sick of guys named Todd. You know, yeah, it's just it's a goofy fucking name, okay?
Oh, I forgot.
Hi,
Yeah.
what's
Language.
your name? Todd. I'm Todd. And this is Blake and Blair and Blaine and Brent. Where are all these goofy fucking boys' names coming from? Taylor, Tyler, Jordan, Flynn. These are not real names. You want to hear a real name? Eddie. Eddie is a real name. Whatever happened to Eddie? He was here a minute ago. Joey and Jackie and Johnny and Phil, Bobby and Tommy and Danny and Bill. What happened? Todd and Cody and Dylan and Cameron and Tucker.
That's what I was looking for.
Hi, Tucker.
That's what
I'm Todd.
I don't know why it just gives me some.
Fuck Tucker. Tucker sucks. And fuck.
Yeah, I think so.
All right,
yeah,
very
what is
good.
it? What is it?
Thanks today to Patrick Stevens. Thanks also to David Samson and to Eric Zeier. We'll get that all up in the greatest hits section of the Say His Name and He Appears.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program?
Drew will be here.
A special guest.
Yes. We'll also continue talking draft with Mike Renner.
Mike Renner, CBS Sports. I know he was very high on what the Ravens did.
Yes. And then, stuff and things.
All right. Thanks, everybody, Pressbox. All of our great sponsors and partners, including the Preakness Festival, Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Baltimore's Classic 5 Golf Courses, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Birds. Go Navy Lacrosse. Duke sucks.